prayer. We didn't quite do Swazi time, and by that I. This is my way of apologizing by denying that we started late. Can you believe it? We want to truly apologize for the late start of our program. But as you know, ladies and gentlemen, an event cannot begin without you, the guests. So we had to wait for everyone to be here so that we can begin. But otherwise, my welcoming remarks would just be to say, you know, the Woman in Impact Leadership Forum is just about celebrating women. We are about 2 months shy from International Women's Day, which happens on the 8th of March, and we are in May. So we are, you know, within, because I know that South Africa also celebrates theirs on the 9th, 9 of August. So we are still within. And also His Majesty has given us, you know, us women in Eswatini, our own National Women's Day, right? That's how I choose to look at it, because once you start saying Buganu, women's thing, then it has many connotations, which you do not want to get into the merits or demerits of it. So I just choose to say, you know what, His Majesty bestowed upon us women our own National Women's Day, or even a celebration for us women in the country. So to that we say Bayete Wenawa Pagat. We want to keep our program nice, swift, smooth, and moving. So the rule for the day is that the MC doesn't speak too much, 1. 2, the MC doesn't, participate a lot in a lot of spoken things, but what she is here to do is just to call upon the next speaker and keep the program flowing. So with those few remarks, ladies, I want to say you look amazing, you look stunning. I just thought, you know what, it's going to be an after-work session, so, I'm just gonna go to work and come back. But you guys topped it up a notch. You should see yourselves. Now I'm here feeling like maybe I'm a bit underdressed. But also it's a day event, so I'm forgiving myself for that. Thank you very much. We have Lijoye, who are one of our biggest partners for this event here today. We also have AM Consultancy, which we like to appreciate. Can we clap hands for Lijoye?
This broadcast is proudly sponsored by Lijoye Limited. At Lijoye, we blend creativity, craftsmanship, and technology to bring you smart, reliable solutions. From photography, videography, and podcast production to sound engineering and live streaming services, our media team captures stories that inspire and connect. Our woodworking division delivers custom-built furniture and fittings, combining precision, durability, and elegant designs for homes, businesses, and events. And when it comes to safety and infrastructure, we've got you covered. With CCTV installations, network setup, and tech integration designed to keep your space connected and secure. Whatever your vision may be, we're here to help you build it beautifully and intelligently. Lijoye, a proud member of the EquiCare Partner Net.
Every day, teams around the world are challenged to operate in imperfect and increasingly complex environments, whether facing unstable connectivity, supply chain leakage, corruption, staffing limitations, paper-based and complex systems frustrate efforts to achieve the level of operational excellence needed to reach their full potential for impact and growth, causing millions of dollars in lost productivity and leaving millions of people underserved. Existing solutions are often too expensive, unnecessarily complex, not easy to use on mobile devices, or they simply create more problems than they solve. Until now, Luvelo offers a comprehensive enterprise suite designed specifically for emerging economies, created by a team of skilled individuals with first-hand experience in what that really means. Luvelo's ecosystem of mobile-first, stackable, interlocking apps, and team committed to compassionate service empower government and private organizations alike to digitize operational processes and record management in a unified digital ecosystem, unlocking a new frontier for transformative change. Let's discover how we can drive your mission forward through our 4 pillars. A suite of productivity tools streamlines task management, organize workflows, standardize operating procedures, and simplify real-time coordination of business activities. Lovelo's personnel management suite streamlines workforce operations with tools for recruitment, biometric time and attendance tracking, incident reporting, and performance monitoring. Easy-to-use scheduling features ensure teams with the right competencies are deployed efficiently, while task management tools enable collaboration through Kanban boards, real-time notifications, and strategic dashboards. Lovelo's supply chain suite ensures end-to-end visibility, with features including inventory tracking, with barcode scanning, automated reorder alerts, and procurement tools that integrate approvals, digital signatures, and audit trails. Equipment maintenance systems coordinate services schedules to maximize asset lifespan, while fleet management capabilities track vehicle licensing and leverage AI to simplify analysis of fuel usage and GPS-based movements. Lovelo's healthcare service suite redefines patient care, offering real-time mobile-friendly documentation for inpatient and outpatient care, telehealth support, and vaccination tracking. A health portal provides patients with 24/7 access to lab results, medical history, and appointment scheduling. Features like self-check-in, GPS-tagged dose administration, and adverse event monitoring optimize healthcare delivery at scale with precision and accountability. Simplify your digital future with Lovelo.
Do we get in automatically, maybe? Okay. Maybe let's open our Wi-Fis. Some of you are connected. Shame, Pagati. Some of you have glided right in. I like that. So maybe let us search the Wi-Fi network and then click on Lijoye Guest. Lijoye Guest. Thank you so much. And then what else do we have to do? Nothing. It's just as easy as that. Awesome. Amazing. So I was playing with my Facebook friends yesterday. So I was at, some establishment for a meeting. So there was the Wi-Fi password just above my head. So I took a snapshot of myself. I was taking selfies. So I posted on my Facebook page and said, hey guys, here's the Wi-Fi password. You saw that. Welile is one of my Facebook friends. So a lot of them were laughing at me and saying, why are you fooling us? Of course, we can't connect to the Wi-Fi because there's just only a password. I mean, where's the username? But obviously, you're not like with me where I am. So even if I share a password, it's pointless. So I was just joking with my friends. So I'm just saying, how much we appreciate a platform such as this one, and I'm connecting it to my joke yesterday on Facebook. Thank you so much, Lijoye, for all the wonderful things that you're doing for us as eMaSwati, as well as the Wi-Fi that we are getting connected to here today. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're also going to hear today here is a lot of motivation, coming from different sectors of society, led by powerful, very influential women in their different spaces. So I just want to invite you to say, you know what? Open up your hearts, open up your minds, open it up like you're going to receive the word of God. Like there's going to be some altar call happening here, people falling from side to side. So, that kind of come as you are, that kind of come as you are when you come to the Lord. So there's a lot of inspiration that we're going to be drawing from these wonderful women in their different spaces and sectors where they lead with integrity and so much poise and, with the betterment of eMaSwati in their hearts. So at this point in time, I want you to help me welcome these wonderful ladies. I'm welcoming them to sit right upstage. Echo anticipating. Ladies and gentlemen, I will call the first panelist, Miss Meliswa Mamba. Miss Meliswa Mamba is a humanitarian and founder of siEswatini Transmagnific. Yay! Do you guys know Transmagnific, right? Yeah. Did you even think it was her? the whole time. I didn't think either. I always thought maybe it was a guy, maybe an outgoing guy, who likes things, or maybe who was once, in the tourism sector. Then they found a niche somewhere. So, Miss Miliswa, we really appreciate the fact just to get to know you and actually share the same space with you today. Our second speaker is Miss Tizi Maphalala. Miss Tizi, we see you. So Miss Tizi is actually the former chairperson of the African Women's Peace and Development Foundation. So she's going to be speaking to us about leadership through advocacy, using your voice for social change. How can we use our voices for social change, just like she's going to be doing here today, to actually uplift other women through the experiences that she's had in the sector that she's in. Our next panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is Ms. Echo Nomsa van der Waal. I hope I'm pronouncing that well. Apologies if I'm not doing justice. But Ms. Echo is the co-founder and executive director of the Look Commission, the TLC. And today she's going to just be speaking to us really about innovation and philanthropy, So philanthropic work is just like, serving wherever you are and serving different groupings of people like they are doing at the TLC for tender, loving care. You know the work of the TLC, guys. I can't even begin, to share, because I know that we all know the impact that they've made in the Kingdom of Eswatini for over 20 years. Thank you very much, Ms. Echo. So, and then we have our last, but she's certainly not least, because she's also going to give us the keynote address for this gathering. Miss Andile Mthethwa Ameshi. Please give a round of applause. A woman in aviation, oh my God. She's the Director General of the Eswatini Civil Aviation Authority, ESWACA. So she's going to be speaking to us about the power of emotional intelligence in leadership. Emotional intelligence, ladies. Sure, the urge, when you're faced with difficult situation, Miss Andile, in the workplace, there are so many challenges that women come across. Even from just your family, and sometimes you don't know whether to bring your family issues into the workspace. Should I tell my manager that today my helper was supposed to come back and then she didn't come back, and then now I'm left with the child? Should I tell my manager that? Should I tell my supervisor? Am I not going to break down because now I'm in this predicament? That kind of emotional intelligence. How do you separate these things, in the workplace? So she's going to be actually delving deep into such things as emotional intelligence. How intelligent do you have to be about your emotions? Because you're a person. You're bound to break down. You're bound to be vulnerable. When can you be vulnerable, about your situation, whether at work or at home? And can you actually mix business and, your personal situations at home? So, ladies and gentlemen, please clap your hand. Can we please clap our hands for the panelists in their entirety, as we are about to draw some inspiration from them. So first up on the podium, can I please invite our first speaker, Ms. Tizi Maphalala, who is going to be speaking to us about leadership through advocacy, using your voice for social change, especially as a woman in leadership. How do you use that? When the space has been, dominated for a very long time, by men. So, Ms. Tizi, please, can I invite you to the podium? Can we give her a round of applause? Yes, please come over here so that you share with us what you have prepared. Okay. We didn't want to do the panel kind of, sort of discussion, because sometimes it takes away from the wealth of information, because you want to jump from the speaker to the next speaker, and then sometimes we don't get everything that you have, and that you would have, love to share with us in the space. So we will give you the podium. Yes, ma'am. Let me help you to actually clip it on. Two, one, two. Thank you. Um, the sound guys, please, please come and assist us with the mic stand. I can, but you know, sometimes you think you can and then you can't. Then you are going to make me a laughing stock during the people.
Yeah, just a little back. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to be here this afternoon and share my experiences. I'm an educator by profession. You heard that I am the former chair. Really? I seem to be hearing myself. Okay. All right. I really have a phobia about these things. I'm an educator and I'm used to talking in my teacher voice. So I'm going to try and keep it civil. So I was asked to share a little bit of my own experience. So like I said, I started off as a teacher and I've always wanted to be a teacher. Nobody could understand why, but I wanted to be a teacher because my first experience in school was awful. I was born, many of you are very young, at the time when our teachers were not trained to deal with special needs children. So I'm left-handed, and I went to school, and the teacher would write ABC, and I would write ABC, mirror writing. And so, of course, the remedy that time was to beat this hand so that it doesn't work, and then you will resort to this one. Unfortunately, this one is useless. So anyway, I was blessed in that my parents were educated. They took me out of school, spent about a month teaching me to write the right way. Then I went back to school and all was normal. So that was my experience of education. I then went on to grow up and work, and I thought, well, when I trained to be a teacher, I thought, I'm going to be the best teacher that I can be. I want my students to remember me positively. I tried to do that. So on advocacy, now, I was a lecturer at UNISWA in the late 1990s. And there was this talk, we all knew about HIV by that time, huh? As people had HIV, people had AIDS. It was an issue. And it didn't really hit me intensely as a professional, but it had hit me as a person, a relative, friends. We were burying people left and right those days, before there were ARVs. Anyway, my student teachers, I asked them to go into the schools as a project, neighboring schools to UNISWA. Ask the teacher to give you, the names of learners in the bottom third. Leave the ones that are doing well, bottom third. And then I gave them a template, you're going to write about this, family issues, school issues, social, emotional. Get to know the learner. I was shocked when I was marking the scripts that a lot of the learners were not living with their parents. So as a teacher, I thought I was trained and I believed a learner comes to school having had breakfast because there's a mother and a father and they care for them. But these children who were not doing so well in school were staying with grandmother, relative, somebody who is not their parent. And that's when the impact of HIV and AIDS hit me now as a professional. And in so doing, we discuss these issues with my students, and I encourage them, when you do your final year project, this is the area you should focus on, because this is what's going to hit us and hit you when you graduate as a teacher. So learn more and more about it. So actually, advocacy really starts with you being emotionally involved with an issue. That's one of my issues as an educator. I went to work in other countries. I was fortunate. I worked for UNICEF. Thereafter, I went to work in Zambia. And as I was working in Zambia, the gender equity issues, in Eswatini, girls' education we talk about it, but it's not it doesn't hit you as much when you go to places where girls are really likely by the age of 16 to have a baby and be married, and it would be normal. So there are those situations, but as an educator, the thing that always fascinated me was this business of cleaning in school. Who does the cleaning? Who does the cleaning in schools? The classroom, the sweeping of the floor at the end of the day. Because we are supposed to be sweepers, aren't it? Yeah? So that, also those gender roles that get intensified by education, which they shouldn't. So one of the things that we worked with my colleagues, and the girls' education organizations, was that when we get to duties in the school, let's try not to further solidify the things that keep us back. So cleaning in the classroom, both boys and girls can be there. The boys can can do the sweeping, lift up the desks, but let's do it together so that we all realize that cleaning is a skill that we all need. It's not specific to women. So those are the other areas where I, as an educator, I see things that affect girls and boys. There are areas that affect boys because these boys are meant to be strong, 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 and they're not always strong. And when they're not strong, they are called girls. So we always have to strike a balance. Now, I then, having worked many years, I worked in another country where I was confronted with living in a conflict-affected zone. In this country, all was well, but it was a little unstable, but all was well, until one day when there was actual fighting. And it's not just fighting on the ground, it's fighting from the air. And of course, if you're working for international organizations, the nice thing about them is they evacuate. Except I was one of those that was not evacuated because my organization has to stay. So a few of us had to stay behind and provide services. But I remember the night, the day the fighting started in the afternoon, by evening, well, we were all you were underneath something that was away from the window in your apartment, just hoping to be safe. And I remember thinking, for the first time in my life, I thanked God I was a Swazi. I just thought, okay, Lord, no matter what happens, we will not kill each other. We will talk, but we do not kill. We are Maswat. So that was, my motivation for joining the African Women's Peace and Development Foundation. Because having lived through a conflict, having to see families separated, children, lost children, we at least try to give our children some semblance of normalcy. But it's heartbreaking, and it's hard to forget. You don't forget, actually. So for me, that experience led me to thinking we should always try every possible way to resolve conflict before it becomes physical. And the organization, African Women's Peace and Development Foundation, really had a good philosophy that it starts with you. Peace starts with you, and it resonates beyond. So you have to be peaceful to live peacefully with others. And we know that there will always be conflicts. There are conflicts in the home, but we have to develop the skills to be able to resolve conflicts without raising our fists and arms. And in our country, actually, you realize the level of GBV. You realize that homes are not peaceful places. And yet those are supposed to be our safe spaces, and especially children's safe spaces. So we really need voices, stronger. I don't even think it's a matter of voices now. I think it's all of us who need to commit to do something about it. And recently, I have also learned that in the workplace, there is a lot of bullying. And bullies actually, bullies grow. They start off as these little ones at preschool. If there is no intervention for addressing bullies at preschool, they're going to grow and be adult bullies. So educators, parents and educators are probably the first level of advocates, whether you like it or not, because you are about resolving problems. Yeah? And advocacy requires you to identify an issue. And who does this issue affect? Yeah? If there is bullying in the workplace, I can bet you my bottom lilangeni, there is going to be women who are going to be victims. Yeah? It is the maybe men who will be victims, but certainly women and the younger ones. Because in that workspace, in a workspace where GBV is allowed to be rampant because there are no mechanisms for putting people straight, if you're the boss and you are abusive, there is nothing anybody can do to you. So the women leaders in this group, you women are in middle management and senior management, you are the ones who can protect all the other women and all the other vulnerable people in your workspace. Because we don't currently have mechanisms for dealing with issues that affect the workspace. And I'm happy that a colleague is going to speak on emotional intelligence. Yeah, emotional intelligence is one of those 21st century skills that we all need. It's like problem solving and collaboration. Yeah? We start early, but we need to have these skills to help us manage our lives and the lives of people around us. So, what does advocacy require? One, I did say there has to be an issue. The issue should not be an issue that you're just reading and it does nothing to you. You have to be emotionally vested to be a strong advocate. And you have to spend time with yourself to determine why you want to do this work. Because sometimes we do it for our own selves, yeah? And not to address the issue that affects people in our society. It's always important. Persons with disabilities always say there's nothing for us without us. They started this slogan because we were all there rallying on rights for persons with disabilities. But where were they? Did we really understand what they were going through? Because there is reading about an issue and there is experiencing the issue. Those of us who talk about GBV, if you've never lived in a home where your parent was being molested, or you are a young person and you had a boyfriend who thought he could molest, or a spouse, your perception and the perception of those of us who read only are very different. And so you need to get the real issues from those that are affected and understand them from their perspective. And then as you advocate, really advocacy requires that you build alliances. You bring like-minded people together. Those who have a stake in the issue as well. And sometimes we can get lost. We need to understand who has a stake in an issue. In one of the communities we worked with, the young people and the women that we had been working with and training raised an issue in their community which we would have never imagined. They were saying there are too many drinking spots. And the drinking spots open, young people actually get to go there. So parents have discipline issues. Young people that are in school may go and join their friends and end up staying out late, etc. But then when we were discussing with them, okay, so for you, you think these drinking spots must be closed, right? So we're going to advocate with all the relevant stakeholders in the community and the leadership. But you know, one of the things about drinking spots is there are people who are making money from them. It's a business. And some people, it's the only income generation they have. So as you are busy thinking about your advocacy, you have to think about those people whose stake is in keeping the status quo. All right? Like your bullies. They like it that they're not being called to order. Okay? Because they can continue. So you need to, do your research, get to understand who has a stake and how much power people have. Because a lot of people who are perpetuating an issue that makes many people uncomfortable have benefits, gain a lot of benefits from them. So it's important to understand that. And getting the message out is a very creative process. And I'm glad we have some creatives here. Because you have to be able to tell the story in a way that it hits people the way you want it to, right? So you can have an article in the paper that may do nothing to raise awareness or to get people emotionally invested enough to want to do. Storytellers, you may have people who can dramatize the issue. And I can assure you that in talk about issues that affect them and ask them to dramatize what it is that affects them. So it's important to use all kinds of platforms, but study them and understand if it works, what would be the impact if it doesn't work? Also, what would be the impact? Sometimes it's just too difficult to be able to retract once a message has gone out incorrectly. So for me, in challenging you women leaders, I always say women are leaders, Nje. You don't have to have a nice high position in the workplace. You're a leader. Because at home, nothing works if you are not all there, all right? We do have quite a lot of control. So use your leadership skills that I just believe many of them are natural. Championing. People who do advocacy work, there's a lot of backlash. There can be backlash. Because, of course, you are, shaking a hornet's nest. If it affects some people, there are people that benefit from it. So you will face some backlash. What moves you? What really, really moves you? And I know that in our country, we don't really like to get deep down into our emotions. We tend to, stop somewhere and check ourselves. But if you really asked yourself, what is it that really hurts me? And then what can I do about it? Who can I work with? Who is interested in this and how can we make a difference? Then, but of course your research is really, really critical. Research around the issue and distract you from your purpose and study the landscape. Okay? It's important to study the landscape. And I must say, for me, when in 2021, because I was now back home and I had this experience, I was just devastated that, in our country we could respond like this and not have opportunity to sit and talk and try and work things out, because you do have, there is this need. When there's a conflict in the family, it's not going to go away by not addressing. You have to be able to sit down in a family, identify the issue, and work on it. Because if you don't, it will resurface. The one other thing that I have learned as being part of AWPDF is that, you know, there are platforms that I didn't know, you know, the radio, that Eswatini radio. How many of you listen to it at like 9:30 p.m.? 9:30 p.m.? Very few. But it has a huge following in areas where I guess there isn't much entertainment. They don't have internet, so they're not on social media. They're on the radio. And of course, I was asked to be on this panel as a representative from the organization to talk about peace building. And it was amazing, the men who call in with problems that have to do with conflict in the home. They call in because it's anonymous, angithi. You don't see them, but they are searching for ways to get some solutions to problems that they're facing. So, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised in the sense that, okay, yes, we know that in the majority of times, it's the men who abuse women, but there's also the other side, where they themselves, we need to hear their voices, we need to give them the skills to be able to be peaceful conflict resolvers in their homes especially. So let me just end there. Lady wants me to stop. So thank you very much.
One, two. Thank you, Ms. Teasy. I love your intelligence. You could immediately tell that once I stood up, it was almost time. Thank you. I guess we're going to actually adopt going forward for all our panelists. Thank you so much, Ms. Teasy. She did an amazing job, especially speaking about advocacy. You know, when I think about advocacy, I think about branding. You know what branding is like? Branding is like instilling, you know, a type of believe me, you know, my product works. You know, it is worth it to actually invest in my product, or it is worth it to actually use my product. It is actually worth it to join this cause, you know, when we speak advocacy. And it's the most difficult thing to do, to convince people to believe in the idea that you believe in, which is why she says, you know, especially for persons with disabilities, they say nothing for us without us. Because you cannot speak about a situation that I live with every day. Lived experiences are so different, you know, from perceived experiences. So thank you so much, Magetizi. I'll be sharing with you my story about, you know, bullying, because I have a story about bullying. I mean, as a child. The guy is in corporate now, and you know what? I want to clap for them. And I genuinely, you know, probably it's in the past, but each time I see them, my goodness, I'm like, this guy, he's celebrated, you know, by the media, he's celebrated by his organization, but each time I see him, I'm like, oh my God. So you see the lasting impact. This guy would pick hedge, you know, hedge plants, a hedge, you know, that grows along the way. So he'd pick hedge for us, and it was two of us girls. I think we were in grade 3 or 4, and it was two of us girls. I don't know how he picked us, but he just chose us. We were not even the best of friends, but we ended up, you know, being friends because now we had to support group, you know. Guys, you laugh. You laugh. It's funny now, hey? But I just want to say the lasting impact. So he'd pick Hage, and then he would demand that we carry a one lilangeni for him, like every day. And I had gone to a school where you don't carry money. There was no tuck shop, you know. Basically, you just relied on your carry a pack or your lunch tin. So how was I supposed to get the money? Do you know what I started doing? So my dad, I just want to share this story, guys. I know we don't have time. So my dad had a tendency of when he goes to the bathroom to wash, like after work, each time after work, he would go to the bathroom to wash. So he'd take out all his coins, you know, put them on the dresser because he wants to take his, you know, dirty laundry into the... So when he goes inside the bathroom, I would just like, you know, try to check, okay, he's been in there 5 minutes, he's probably inside the bathtub, so he won't see me. So I would tiptoe into his room so that I would steal. Guys, I stole from my dad. I would steal that one lilangen because I knew tomorrow, if I don't have one lilangen, the guy was on my case. Yo, he would hit us with the H from the ears to our legs, and we couldn't report it. I don't know how, you know, as a child, you just felt, hey, if I report, because he used to threaten us also. That's what bullies do. They would threaten you. So I'm just sharing my story to say it's something that has lived with me forever. I've probably gone past it. I've probably forgiven the guy, but I have never forgotten about it. And now he's shining in his career. I've never spoken to him about it. We meet each other corporate-wise. We meet each other. You know, we celebrate each other. Oh, now you're here. Oh, now you've moved. He moves also like I do. He moves. Guys, I move. Where's AM? Carol. She's probably interviewed me. She's not here in the room now for a role at Eswaka. So I'm just saying that, you know, we celebrate each other. I have never spoken to him about it because I don't know how it would sit with him now. He advocates for good causes as well. So I don't know how it would sit with him. So I'm just saying, you know, survivors of bullying never go past it. I can imagine the same for kids who've been sexually assaulted. So, Ms. Tizi, thank you. You opened up wounds, but also I'm healing through speaking about my experience. Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker, you know, at this point in time, I feel like it's proper to call it up to the podium because I want you guys to ready yourselves. We're going to have a question and answer session after these two speakers. So I want you guys to ready yourselves, speak about anything with these ladies, share your experiences, ask them, you know, how to get out of a certain situation that they have also gone through. You can ask me too if you want. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, please help me welcome our keynote speaker, Ms. Andile Mthethwa-Meshi, who is the Director General of the Eswatini Civil Aviation Authority. She's going to be speaking to us about emotional intelligence. I already said, guys, you know, about how emotional intelligence is hard to separate, you know, from home, business, work, professional space, and, you know, your personal space. So I will allow her to take us through emotional intelligence as her subject for today so that we throw for lunch, late lunch. Clap to that. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Mthethwa.
Thank you very much. I will rest with the pleasantries and the protocols for now. Please allow me to do that. I just want you to remember, and I want you to think in this moment before I begin. I want you to think about a time or remember a time when life was easier and things were slightly normal. I use slightly because I'm not sure we all know what normal is. And I just want you to think about a time when the pace was slower and things had a bit of ease. I just want you to think about that time for yourself. And then leapfrog into perhaps today, now, where we are called role models. Some of us are called trailblazers. Some of us are called Some of you are called fashion icons. You're called many different things. Forever in the spotlight. And constantly busy. Constantly busy. Our blazers or our coats are weighing down with titles. At times we lose our sense of self and we lose our sense of belonging. We have become almost like wanderers, even in our own emotions. We are almost like we're spiritually deprived, and our souls are. We're slaves to schedules and expectations. We're slaves to even our own cravings, some of us. We are slaves to this thing called life. Our inner man is deprived. How do we get in touch with ourselves? And how do we lead effectively? I liked what Mam Tizi said. We're all leaders, and I assume you know that we are all leaders. Everybody is a leader. You lead yourself first. An Amazon tribe that I lead, 3 great daughters, sometimes they're 4, if you count my niece. We lead different things. We lead in really different things. And I want you to think about, that leadership, whatever you're leading, even yourself, by the way, because leading yourself requires a task, especially when you are committed to staying aligned to the bigger mission. I will digress here. I was hearing people criticize Cyril Ramaphosa about what he was doing, how he betrayed the country when he was having his engagement with President Trump, and my thoughts are very different. It depends what your bigger mission is. It often requires setting aside in a service of a broader vision. Unfortunately, the world we live in and we lead in is not as we wish it to be, filled with contradictions, filled with ambiguity, filled with uncertainty, diversity. And really, when you think about it, when you lead people in this room, you're almost leading problems. It's the truth. We're leading problems. And so you can think about it, the more diverse the group, the more diverse the problems. The more bigger the group, the more bigger the problems. And so it is in this context and in this background that I really want us to have a conversation today about. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andile Mthethwa Meshi. I am called many things by many people. I'm many things to many people, but the title I'm more comfortable with, really the identity that I go by day and night. I'm a daughter of a king. I'm a daughter of the Father. So that's the identity, honestly, that I live by. Because to you, I may be Director General. To some, I'm a mother. To some, I'm many things. But there's one thing that doesn't change. That's the identity I choose to identify myself with. So emotional intelligence, really, is anchored in this thing. Know yourself. Know thyself. Addictions. In fact, I like what she said. I wrote it down, that advocacy starts with being emotionally involved, which is true because you need to know yourself, understand your personal conviction, understand what your core values are. And this is another question I'd like to ask yourself. Do all of us know what our core values are? Please, your hand, it's a conversation. What are your core values? What do you live by? So I have daughters, I think I kind of said it a little bit. And I always ask them, this is a question I ask them. I said, what are your core values? They're 10, 14, 23. The other one is 12, my niece. And I say, because these are the things that will be your why. You need to be able to identify them. And then I will usually say to them, one of the things I believe in as a core value of our family is generosity. And so this is what probably drives me many other times. But it's important for you to understand that, because your core values and your convictions will drive your emotions in one way or the other. Remember advocacy, what she said about advocacy. And so, what is emotional intelligence? One of the things is understanding and managing, being able to understand and manage your own emotions first. Some of you who've been in business school will probably know this. There's a course now, and it's been there for quite a while. As part of the MBA, I know at least at Gibbs, it's called Personal Mastery. Because they started seeing that leaders in the workplace, there was a problem. Because a lot of them didn't understand themselves. They didn't know who they were. They didn't know their weaknesses and their strengths. I'm not talking about the weaknesses and strength we talk about of you, because those ones are made up. So your weaknesses, knowing them because you're able to manage them. Your emotions, knowing them because you're able to manage that when you see, I am getting angry now. So we need to be able to understand ourselves and your strengths, knowing them because you leverage on them. So the second part really is recognize and understand and respond well to the emotion of others. Many times, the interactions sometimes we have with others have nothing to do with ourselves. They really have nothing to do with ourselves. But it's important for us to understand and know how to respond to the emotions of others. And number 3, really being able to build trust based on high-functioning relationships. Not low-functioning, high-functioning relationships. Because when you understand yourself and understand your own emotions and are able to live through your own emotions and own your own emotions without denying your own emotions, you're able to understand the emotions of others and are able to read the room well. You're then able to build trust and high-functioning relationships. I would like to speak, about the 5 pillars, really, of emotional intelligence that we ought to, I think, know foundationally and at a practical level, really. Because sometimes people say high emotional intelligence as if it's some airy-fairy thing. The first one really being self-awareness, which I've already spoken about. Know your emotional triggers and your limits as well. Know yourself and be aware of what you're feeling and why. Have you ever looked at a person and they did nothing and suddenly you feel irritated? Why? It's important to know that. Why in that moment? And I will tell you why you need to know this. Many of us deny ourselves the gift of self-reflection. We go through a day, we go through a conversation, we go through a meeting, and we never really went wrong. We don't know what happened. One of the greatest gifts you will give yourself in this journey is being able to reflect yourself. The second one really is self-regulation. Managing your emotions before they manage you. Stay calm and in control in high emotions. What does that mean? Sometimes I feel myself that I am becoming angry and I will run. I literally run just to deflate and be back. You can do that in meetings. You can ask for recess. Motivation being the third one. Being driven by purpose and not ego, which is why I said, what are your core values? What are your convictions? Because this is what will drive you. This is what will motivate you. Similar to what Mam Tizi was saying. Your core values, your convictions are what will drive your advocacy. Empathy. Empathy. It's actually interesting in this room. I see a woman who has a lot of empathy. I know her. She's actually my board member. So I didn't know she was going to be here. She's there, Dr. Thandiwe Hlatswayo. You know how boards are. I don't have that problem. She has an ability to listen with the heart. Reading the room and noticing people's emotions through body language. I usually hear people, I used to train a course many years ago on, how, interaction and customer service, and people would say, but I didn't say anything. Well, your body is saying a whole lot of things. You didn't say nothing, but your body is saying something. And so, but being emotionally intelligent means being able to enter into a room. Honestly, this woman, I might as well use as an example. She'll enter and she'll say, "You don't look okay." And true to it, I really am not okay because I've not slept or something. Enter a room, read the room, read. And you will see, you will be able to gauge people's emotions. And this also, by the way, helps in negotiations. I sometimes represent the country in certain negotiations for civil aviation, and I've represented Africa on certain negotiations for civil aviation. This will help you, even in high-powered conversations. And then social skills, the fifth one, building networks through trust and authenticity. This is important because a lot of our relationships are not authentic. And so we are not acting ourselves, and we have all these emotions that are moving around because you don't say what you want to say and you said what you did not mean to say. Handle relationships wisely. Manage conflicts with grace. You know you can manage a conflict with grace. You can. And moving into that, I just want to share a recent story. I cannot go into its detail. But the country underwent, just recently, we went through what you call an ICAO USAP CMA audit, which is really something that tests our aviation security system as a country. And there are a number of agencies that are involved in that, but really the audit comes through us, through my organization, through the authority. And we achieved a great score, actually, because this is good news, this is out there. We achieved a score of 80.48, above the global average. We're the top in SADC, and we're the top 5 in Africa, in our region, above the global average. Okay. But that doesn't reveal the whole story. You just see the results, but it doesn't reveal the whole story. The interagency coordination chaos, because not everybody thinks like you. Not everybody understands the importance of the audit like you. The union pressures. Praise the Lord if some of you are unionists. I am not against you, but if you lead an organization without unions, you are blessed. Yeah, because wow, you're right. The union pressures before the audit. Internal staff conflicts within teams, serious conflict, not joking conflict. And then sleepless nights. Obviously, I'm not going to go into detail, but that whole entire combination. So what saw us through? Emotional intelligence will help you in high-pressured situations, choosing calm over chaos. You can choose calm, by the way. You can. Creating safe dialogue amongst, amid fear, which is where I think Thandiwe comes in. I was talking about that safe dialogue amid fear, even amongst your children, by the way, and believing this one thing, if you remember anything, that pressure does not need to be passed down. We don't need to pass down pressure. It can be processed and transformed into a strategy. People have different ways of processing pressure. Some of us process it through prayer. And whatever that is for you, make emotionally sound decisions, even in chaos. Because when all is said and done, you still need results. And so, women, I know there's more women, but I know there are men, and emotional intelligence. I just thought this is where I want to transition to just a little bit, to the women present here today. We often are told to lead like men. It may not be in words that are said, but it's certainly in so many things that are implied to harden ourselves, and however, our strength lies elsewhere, in empathy, in the grace to hold space and remain firm, in the instinct to build and not to bulldoze. And so I would like to urge you to go into that, because what happens is many of us are stressed out. Many of us, because we are leading in emotions that aren't ours. This test that I was telling you about, this personal mastery, I went through it, I remember. And I am as green as they come, if you know the colors. However, my blue was strong. And one of the things is that although I'm naturally green, but I'm pushing through the blue because I'm trying to be somebody that I'm not. And that tends to weigh you out. Remember, you don't need to be louder to be heard. You don't even need to be tougher to be determined and strong. And we don't need to sacrifice our femininity to lead powerfully. I once had a colleague many years ago who used to say to me, we were on the same level, he was heading one department, I was heading one department outside the country. He used to say, yeah, I think you're too soft on your team. I think you're, and one of those days I lost it. There was no emotional intelligence there. I told him, I said, listen, I am not, I don't even want to say what I said, but I said, I'm not you. I'm not who you are. This is how I lead. Emotional intelligence is actually not a soft skill. It's a fundamental leadership competency. It's required for navigating personal and professional environments. You need it. Aware of your emotions, aware of how others are reacting, and being able to manage that, and being able to show empathy, and being able to reflect. There was a committee I was chairing on the African continent. I served on the African Civil Aviation Commission as vice president of the South, meaning representing all the SADC states for 2 terms. And within that, so on the bureau as vice president, it's almost like a board for all 54 African countries. I was chair of the governance committee. And when you're chair of the governance, it means people problem, because we're dealing with the finances, we were dealing with HR issues, and we're dealing with legal issues. And now you're talking about dealing with 54 African countries with at least 5 recognized AU languages. I don't know if you've been to African meetings. We first fight over English and French. And so many times I have to start and say, I am not English. I don't even look English. I just speak English because it's my mode of communication. Otherwise, I would talk in Siswati, few people would understand me. I always have to start like that. Sometimes just a joke. If you're English, I don't mean bad. But whilst the English were doing divide and conquer, the French were doing assimilation. So the French speakers really think that they're French. Okay. So one of the major projects that we had was getting a new executive management. So running recruitments across 54 African countries with applicants from all 5 AU regions. For Secretary General, legal advisor, Director of Flight Safety, Director of Corporate Services, and that sort of thing. So when you would chair these meetings, a lot of emotional tension, because people take these things seriously. It is emotional intelligence that enabled me to remain anchored in my values, number one. and to respect every voice, because unfortunately there, you have to respect every voice. You can't just say to somebody, shut up. They will tell you they have a vote, they have a voice. So you have to listen, even if you feel like saying, you are really being ridiculous right now. Build consensus without compromising integrity. Foster cooperation, even in a high-stakes environment. Emotional intelligence really is the currency of trust. But I must admit to you today, I had a professional meltdown. I couldn't take it anymore, which is what I want to introduce my next concept. After meetings like this, in, out, back to back, back to back, back to back, I lost it. I lost it with my colleagues who were hypocrites of the highest order, because I realize sometimes the higher up you go, even in these negotiations, even in ICAO events at the International Civil Aviation Organization, there are few people you can go to war with. A few people are honest. A few people. Many people do things Nicodemously. You know Nicodemus, right? The night story. They will say, yeah, this is what, but they will never speak up for truth. And so I lost it. And of course, I was the only female there. All of my colleagues are male. The greater thing is male. I lost it. I told them. But I realized something. Rest. We can speak all we want about emotional intelligence. If you are not rested, I was tired. I was irritable. I'd been having back-to-back meetings. So you can know thyself, be aware of your emotions. But when you are tired, you is tired. You cannot stand for hypocrisy. You cannot even read the room. You just lose it. So I want to speak to the women and to the men that are here, really. It is important to rest. But rest isn't what it is today. You're on leave from the office. You're on leave, but they're still calling you. And so people never really rest. Which is why we need to understand what it is that you need to rest from. Set healthy boundaries. If you're going to be emotionally intelligent, you need to set healthy boundaries. There are phone calls you have no business picking at night in your house. There are emails you have no business answering. And you need to learn how to be physically present in a moment, whether it be at home or be at work. You need to learn how to be physically present. We are no longer, even here now, many of you on your phones, we've become slaves to these things. Some of you are tweeting, some of you are sending your pictures of the thing, because we're in this constant engine. And so our emotions and our things and what we're trying, it's everywhere. We never know what it is to be physically present in a space. You'll be having an important meeting and you realize everybody's just responding. And so we've lost the battle because we are not restful. We're not present in the moment. We are everywhere at the same. And we call it under the guise of multitasking. It is a myth. It is a lie. And it is a scam. There are elements of that, and so your children don't know you anymore. They don't know you because when you're at home, you're not physically present. I have a 14-year-old daughter. When she tells you a story, she wants you to look at her. Sometimes I will be running away from her. She will follow me to the bathroom. And I'll say, please, I'm sorry. Can you tell me some other time? She'll say, no, I want to tell you now. I think she torments me, really. Wait. But one of the things that I've learned is that this is my gift to her in that moment. What is your gift to your children, to your homes, to your wives, to your husbands, to your sisters, brothers, in that moment? Can we be present in a moment without feeling the need to Instagram it, tweet it, and, content creation, yeah, I know, that's the word. So, empathy. It is something that we all need in this journey of leadership and in emotional intelligence. I am known as, I have quite a bit of a reputation on different stages because I really tell the truth as it is. I'm one of those, I cannot keep quiet. If something is incorrect, I say it. So when they are going for negotiations, they sometimes want to take me because they know I will tell the truth and I will say the truth. I'll say it as it is. And it's not nice. In fact, one of those days we were negotiating on sustainable aviation fuels, a very tough negotiation in Dubai. And months later, I saw the ICAO president and he said to me, he saw me with the SG of ACAC, he said, bad cop, good cop, meaning I'm the bad cop. He thinks that was a thing. Because I really speak up for regional integration, I defend the dignity of African professionals, and I advance for the opportunities of women in my space. And so what fuels my courage in those boardrooms and negotiations is really this whole thing of being able to live with that situation. Okay, quick one. I have a leadership challenge for you today. I encourage you in the coming days to lead from a place of presence and not power, not just power. Pause before reacting. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. As somebody, I think it was Mam Tizi that said that. You know why you need to have the conversation you've been avoiding? Because it impacts your emotions. And so you meet Andile and you're angry at her because she's wearing yellow and the last person that bullied you was wearing yellow. I'm just, saying, have the conversation and celebrate others. Let us learn to celebrate others. Because you feel jealous does not mean you need to be jealous. Act jealous. And because you feel angry does not mean you need to act angry. So celebrate others because it's in the things we don't celebrate. There's a buildup of these emotions. And reflect. Pray before making major decisions. Or reflect, whatever it is for you. 5 lasting principles, and I end. Lead with clarity. Stay grounded under pressure, but that will require the reflection that I'm talking about. That will require you being emotionally present. Respect emotions without being ruled by them. Build psychological safety. One of the interview questions they ask these days is, at least in other places, what is your safe space? Do you have a safe space? When you are under pressure, do you have a safety network where psychologically you can bounce off? Build that, create that. Let values guide your leadership. Prioritize purpose over performance. I just want to leave you with that. But one of the things I'm asking you to think about these things. Let's not just sit here and, it was great. It was great. What did they, it was great. Okay, what did you learn? It was just great. So it was just great. So leadership really is about connection and not control. Empathy and clarity drives true leadership. Be present, be kind, and be courageous. Thank you very much.
Be present, be kind, and be courageous. Some of the takeaways. Thank you so much, Miss Andile. She's the DG, the Director General from ESWACA. We have drawn so much from you. We have learned also that there is professional meltdown. I think I learned that too. That, you can melt down professionally. I don't know how you do it. Do you bottle it and, take it out bit by bit? Or you just, you melt down anyway because you're human after all. Thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the time where we can do our Q&A from what we have heard from the 2 speakers. What are we drawing from them? Are we drawing courage? Are we encouraged? Are we more enthusiastic? Are we reflecting? Are we sorry for the things that we've done in the past? The situations that we've handled. You know how leadership begins at home? I think Miss Andile said that as well. That leadership begins at home. The fact that you're a mother, the fact that you're a father, even the fact that you're an aunt, or an uncle, you're a leader because you're exemplary, to your nieces, to your nephews, to your kids. So that's leadership. And the emotional intelligence that comes with that when your daughter follows you around. I want to tell you now. No, but I'll give you time. No, now. It must happen now. How do you deal with those small things before you go to the world, and deal with bigger things in the workplace? Do we have questions for the panelists? Any reflections? I've shared my story. I am a survivor of bullying. I'm not a victim. The terms also have changed. We are no longer victims. We're survivors. So I survived bullying. Oli? Please, my love. Yeah. It's not on. Is the green light on? Please help us. Of course, community voice, girl. Community. Thank you. Thank you, Koli. You can tell she's used to speaking, and standing amongst crowds, speaking on podiums. But thank you. That's a great reflection, Leadership, servanthood. Oh my gosh. Sometimes it's hard to separate servanthood, and empathy, being a leader with empathy, because how many times must you display empathy? And then now the staff is going to start taking advantage of you because they know you have empathy. So where do we draw the line? Yes, Sissy, please go.
Thank you for the talk. My name is Tema Dlamini. I'm still a student. This is very transformative to me. You mentioned work bullying. How does one identify that this is work bullying, and how does one navigate that? And also, Andile mentioned rest. What does that look like for you?
Rest. Yes. Yeah, like reset and rest. Okay, how do you identify bullying, especially in the workplace? Mlingani, asebende njena, as push, and yet saying 5. We need to go home. I just push, I got 5 minutes, 15 minutes is an hour after that.
Interesting question. I think, Andile said something. Know yourself. Do you know when something is not quite right, you feel it? You actually feel, no, this is not right. And bullies actually can be very subtle. It starts very subtly. and then you don't see it. It's not overt. But when you feel uncomfortable about something, I always say, there's that you should be able to confide in. I've had young colleagues, interns who came to our organization, and of course, because they eventually want to report anybody. But when you feel uncomfortable about the way you're being treated, you need to say something. The one thing that I must say, I see some young ladies, and I know all of you experience. If you've worked on this continent, men think they have a right to say, you look good, or, those snide remarks that even though you're in a professional space, they are reminding you that you're a woman. So your values never let go. You are here to work. You are going to work. You're not anybody's girlfriend. And you're not going to be a friend that you don't want to be. So I think there are, in many spaces, there will be someone that you can talk to, and maybe they can help give you some strategies of how to, Yep.
Ms. Andile, what does rest look like? You spoke about rest, reset.
So rest, it's been proven really, it's not necessarily cessation from activity. It's just cessation from a particular type of activity. So maybe you like painting, maybe you like reading. I like reading. And for me, that is rest. And in that moment, I think even those that are around me know that that is my rest period. And so I also have this crazy thing, I don't know what to call it. I am a World War II person, and so I watch a lot of the Holocaust. I do. It just has helped me understand human nature a lot. And so that's what rest looks like. But it will be different things for different people. But in that moment, be present in that moment. Don't say I'm on leave, but you're answering every email under the sun. You're doing every other thing. And so you go back and you don't feel rested. You sleep, you don't feel rested. Why? Because the whole night you were searching on your phone. So it will be different things for different people. Whatever it is, identify what you love, an activity that you love. So you can find, I always say hiking saved my life. In a period in my life, I would go hiking. So although I would hike for long distances, but I was rested because that's what I enjoyed. There was something about the mountains. We would walk up in the company. So it will look like different things for different people. You need to identify what that would look like for you.
Be intentional. Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Andile. I think the mic is with you, Wedile.
Thank you.
You, my ladies, and then we will just sum up and end the session here. Otherwise, we will have another round, guys. So we will come back.
Okay, thank you, Sphe. I'm really Lemasugu. Mine is just a comment and just to say thank you to Wompact and the women that have spoken already. I'm looking forward to the other two, and I really admire the four of you ladies up on the stage. Pressure does not have to be passed down. You know what, Andile, what you say just resonates with me. Working in high pressure situations as a filmmaker, so when you're on international cruise and you have a team, you feel like, if their mess up becomes my mess up. And so now when the pressure is coming from the top, now you have to apply pressure. That has always been my way. So thank you so much for what you said today and all the tactics and the techniques that you've just shared. I've really grown, I think, as a leader just sitting here. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for the beautiful impact and insightful conversation that we are having. For us, little babies that are still growing, it's really planting a seed. We greatly appreciate that when Um, I am taken into a reflection where I am thinking of a woman leader who has found a voice and is emotionally, okay, let me not say emotionally, but is empathetic. But now the people around her are taking an advantage of that. They are taking it as a weakness. So how now do we draw the line to say, okay, I am empathetic, but you can't manipulate me to that end? How do we draw the line? Because people manipulate you, you get home, you are tired. Not because work was work, but because all of these people took advantage of the fact that you are open, and they drained you down with everything that is in them, forgetting that, well, there's a line that is not supposed to be crossed. Thank you.
So I believe empathy really does not mean you're not firm. It just means that you're able in that moment to place yourself and understand a reason why something could have been and why it should have been. But there's something I also say in light of that where people think they can manipulate. I said one of my core values was generosity. I have a lot of people that come to me, even in the workplace, they need this, they need this, they need that. They send me private texts or whatever. And my daughter sometimes says, Mom, don't you think they're manipulating? And I say, you can never manipulate me. It's not possible. I act. My decision to act is based on my conviction. It's not based on yours. And so even if you're lying to me, sometimes I can tell, I just say, don't tell me this story. There's nothing like that. But I will still give it to you. But I want you to know you cannot manipulate me. It's not possible. I allow myself to make that decision. So in the same way, whatever it is, I mean, there are people who came to me recently. It's a very sensitive situation, but let me try and explain it. So they say, DG, we know you're a Christian and but we need to, so they wanted to pray in one of the places in the airport at night. I'm not going to go into detail, but I probably have said everything. So I said to them, but you know that. I said, first of all, don't start by saying you know I am, because you're trying to manipulate me, and that will not work. I said, but second of all, you cannot do it, because from a regulatory compliance, you cannot do that. But I offer you this solution of what you can do. I think the thing of why we think people can manipulate us is sometimes I just let you know that, by the way, this is what you're doing right now in this moment. However, I still make a decision and I choose to help you in spite of, or not help you for that matter. So don't ever think you can be manipulated. Don't. Even the people constantly ask money from you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Andile. Thank you. Which means you allow yourself to be manipulated. Otherwise, you choose your battles, right? I think that's what I got to say. Even if you feel manipulated, give another way around, the issue. At the end of the day, we have all won and we have all solved the problem. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, maybe let's end this session here. We will go for a late lunch. How many minutes do you want to go for lunch? 4. It's 15:36 this side of the world. How many minutes? We come back at 4. Yeah? Okay. Let's have late lunch. We come back at 4. Can I please allow the panelists, my guests of honor, to please have the front line for our lunch? They will lead us and then we will follow. But in sections. Let's give them a round of applause. They deserve it. Thank you so much. My beautiful ladies at the back, can you please help me to just usher, our guests to lunch? Just pick a few sections, maybe 2-3 rows And then let's see if the queue is not much outside, and then we can pick more rows.
This broadcast is proudly sponsored by Lichoye Limited. At Lichoye, we blend creativity, craftsmanship, and technology to bring you smart, reliable solutions. From photography, videography, and podcast production to sound engineering and live streaming services, our media team captures stories that inspire and connect. Our woodworking division delivers custom-built furniture and fittings, combining precision, durability, and elegant designs for homes, businesses, and events. And when it comes to safety and infrastructure, we've got you covered. With CCTV installations, network setup, and tech integration designed to keep your space connected and secure. Whatever your vision may be, we're here to help you build it beautifully and intelligently. Lichoye, a proud member of the EquiCare Partner Network.
Every day, teams around the world are challenged to operate in imperfect and increasingly complex environments, whether facing unstable connectivity, supply chain leakage, corruption, staffing limitations, paper-based and complex systems frustrate efforts to achieve the level of operational excellence needed to reach their full potential for impact and growth, causing millions of dollars in lost productivity and leaving millions of people underserved. Existing solutions are often too expensive, unnecessarily complex, not easy to use on mobile devices, or they simply create more problems than they solve. Until now, Luvelo offers a comprehensive enterprise suite designed specifically for emerging economies, created by a team of skilled individuals with first-hand experience in what that really means. Luvelo's ecosystem of mobile-first, stackable, interlocking apps and team committed to compassionate service empower government and private organizations alike to digitize operational processes and record management in a unified digital ecosystem, unlocking a new frontier for transformative change. Let's discover how we can drive your mission forward through our 4 pillars. A suite of productivity tools streamlines task management, organize workflows, standardize operating procedures, and simplify real-time coordination of business activities. Luvelo's personnel management suite streamlines workforce operations with tools for recruitment, biometric time and attendance tracking, incident reporting, and performance monitoring. Easy-to-use scheduling features ensure teams with the right competencies are deployed efficiently, while task management tools enable collaboration through Kanban boards, real-time notifications, and strategic dashboards. Luvelo's supply chain suite ensures end-to-end visibility, with features including inventory tracking, with barcode scanning, automated reorder alerts, and procurement tools that integrate approvals, digital signatures, and audit trails. Equipment maintenance systems coordinate services schedules to maximize asset lifespan, while fleet management capabilities track vehicle licensing and leverage AI to simplify analysis of fuel usage and GPS-based movements. Luvelo's healthcare service suite redefines patient care, offering real-time mobile-friendly documentation for inpatient and outpatient care, telehealth support, and vaccination tracking. A health portal provides patients with 24/7 access to lab results, medical history, and appointment scheduling. Features like self-check-in, GPS-tagged dose administration, and adverse event monitoring optimize healthcare delivery at scale with precision and accountability. Simplify your digital future with Luvelo.
This broadcast is proudly sponsored by Lichoye Limited. At Lichoye, we blend creativity, craftsmanship, and technology to bring you smart, reliable solutions. From photography, videography, and podcast production to sound engineering and live streaming services, our media team captures stories that inspire and connect. Our woodworking division delivers custom-built furniture and fittings, combining precision, durability, and elegant designs for homes, businesses, and events. And when it comes to safety and infrastructure, we've got you covered. With CCTV installations, network setup, and tech integration designed to keep your space connected and secure. Whatever your vision may be, we're here to help you build it beautifully and intelligently. Lichoye, a proud member of the EquiCare Partner Network.
Over to the stage, Ms. Echo van der Waal, please come over to the stage as well. So that we have our last, session. Ms. Tizi, just, support, moral support. Please come back on the stage. I think Ms. Andile has left already. Okay. All right. So we are getting into our next session. Ladies and gentlemen, our previous session was it was a remarkable session. So what we are also going to do here is that we are going to honor excellence in women that have done exceptional things in their different spaces of influence and impact. So right now we're just going to have this brief session. We're going to have a question and answer session afterwards. So please open your eyes and ears, okay? If your eyes cannot see, let your ears hear. And if your ears cannot hear, at least let your eyes see. All right, so we get into our next session. I will introduce to you now another phenomenal woman. I did tell you that I've traveled Transmagnific. Guys, it's like an airport inside a car. You know what it feels like to have an airport. There's air conditioning, there's, free Wi-Fi. The convenience, guys, the luxury. Okay. Transmagnific, please come to the fore. This is Miss Meliswa Mamba, who's going to speak to us about vision to execution. She's going to speak about strategic planning for successful businesses. Please give her a round of applause. The floor is yours, ma'am. Ooh, and your air hostess.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And how are you feeling this afternoon? You're looking amazing. When I came in and I looked at the room, it was a little different from what I expected, but in a nice way. I was expecting more people who are going into business, who are wanting to know about vision and strategic leadership. And I looked around the room, I'm like, I know this one, I know this one, I know this one, I know this one. I know you guys are already doing so many amazing things. So I've pivoted. I'm going to share with you my story of how I came to do what I do. And it starts with a bit of déjà vu. You'll understand at the end of my story why today specifically is déjà vu. When I was studying for my undergraduate degree, so I'm an IT auditor by profession, and I did my undergraduate at Wits University. So second year, so first year, being a girl from Big Bend, first time out the country, first time going anywhere. My parents, my mom's here today. So my parents took me to school, and I did that for the whole of first year. And then interacting with my other schoolmates, I realized they take public transport. It's normal, it's a thing. And I can do it too. I can take public transport. So I decided as of second year, I'm going to take public transport and I'm going to go to Johannesburg on my own. Woke up bright and early, got to the bus rank. 6 a.m., iyagcwala. No, I'm still the only one. 8 a.m., there's 2 of us. 9 a.m., there's 3 of us. Okay, there's hope. And then 10 a.m., there's still 3 of us. 11 a.m., there's still 3 of us. And I'm thinking, if I don't make it for registration today, I'm going to miss doing my second year this year. So I was like, Dad, it wasn't such a smart idea. Could you please get me to school? He says, yeah, sure. I just need to finish up a couple of meetings and reshuffle my things, and I'll take you through. And so I ask the taxi guy to give me my passport back. And he refuses. And he says, "Masekwehla wena lana uthi togcwala nini le khumbi?" And I explained to him, "Ayigcwali. Whether I'm here or not, we're nowhere near 15 people." And he refuses. So I decide I'm going to go to the police station and I'm going to report to them that this man is refusing to give me my passport. So the police officer says, "Explain, how did he get a hold of your passport?" I gave it to him because that's the process. And the police officer's like, "You gave it to him. That's not a police matter. He didn't steal it from you, he didn't grab it from you, so we can't assist." Eventually, at 3 p.m., he gave me back my passport. And it was too late to leave by then, and he gave it back because we still didn't have enough people. We were a lot more by then, about 12 people, but he wasn't leaving for 12 because he needed 15. But God being God, Wits had so many registrations that year, they extended by a day. So when I got there the next day, I registered and I did my second year in time. Fast forward, I graduate, and I'm serving my articles at KPMG. And so KPMG comes to the university and offers, "Come on board." And I'm like, one condition, home is Swaziland. I want to be in Swaziland. So they say, "Well, we can't help with that. Swaziland is its own head office. We can't force them to take you on. But we want you here." So I start working in Swaziland, but Swaziland is able to hire me out to all the KPMGs across the continent. So that means I'm consistently traveling, flying somewhere week in, week out. And a friend of mine was getting married. I have very many stories about a couple of incidents I had with my flights. And it's just was usually for me the last leg. And I used to compare a lot because the international flight is bigger, it's different, and the customer service was different. And so my friend was getting married at Esibayeni Lodge, which was just by the airport. And I'm arriving on time. I am landing there 2 hours before the wedding. Everything is there and I'm just walking in. And then it rains. Did you know that propeller planes, the smaller planes, cannot land through rain? So we're circling above the clouds until the pilot advises that we're going to run out of fuel. We need to go back to OR Tambo and land. So I'm like, "You can parachute me. The wedding is there. Just drop me." So we went back to OR Tambo, had an unscheduled landing. They let us through, but because we're not scheduled to take off, we couldn't take off for quite a while. Long story short, I arrived, the wedding was over. And so there were many, many different things, and I don't want to tell you all the stories, but I started thinking to myself, what if I could have a driver who would just drive me? And the reason that thought came about is I started driving myself. I then did my second postgrad because I did my honors then, and I decided I'm going to do my computer auditing at Wits. And that would have sort of monthly week block trainings. I'm going to just drive myself each time I need to go there. And even if I was going for meetings, I'd drive myself. And my boss at the time, Caroline, says, "Do you know how much we charge you out per hour?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's 600 Rand. So if you are driving for 4 hours and driving back for another 4 hours, who are we billing that money to?" And so I thought, if somebody else could drive and I could work, if in the car we could have the Wi-Fi and I could work and I could type and I could get to where I need to get to, that would be the perfect solution. And so I decided, okay, this solution will work for me, but let me test it out first and see. So I start doing research. And I find that a couple of people would be interested in it. And I decide, okay, with my, I'm going to be the founding director of this company, and we're going to start a service that solves this problem that not only I face, but a number of people face. In starting the business, the first step was to develop a business plan. I am from a business background, and I realize with some of the feedback I'm getting, this is not going to pick up very quickly. So my projections say at least 2 years, 24 months until you break even. You need to be prepared to make a loss for 2 years. And this is where strategic thinking comes in. Because if you're going somewhere, if you have this vision of the solution that you would like to provide, how do you do it? If you want to get from here where there's Zulwini, you want to get to Mbamane, there's a number of different routes. But which route you're going to take depends on how's the traffic at that time of day. Is there a place I need to stop? There are dirt road options that you could take. And if you randomly choose to go on a journey without planning, you will get there. And often my advocacy for business planning is criticized on the grounds that there are people who have businesses and have succeeded in business without a business plan. And that's true. You can. But what the plan does is it allows you to take that time to calculate the most efficient way, the most profitable way, the most aligned way to your goals to getting to where you'd like to get to. And so I'd like to go into sharing my top 7 tips about how to be strategic in planning, how to be strategic in communicating the vision that you have received to everybody else that you need to be a part of it. And you need a lot of people to be a part of it. Not only do you need the people that you'll be working with who will execute the vision to be a part of it, but the people who are going to be your clients, who are going to be your consumers, the people who you're solving the problem for are going to be a part of it. With my 7 tips, I'd realized that 7 songs from Rihanna go really nicely with it. And I had said to our sound team that what we'll do is we'll introduce each one with a 10-minute clip of that song. And why I wanted to do that was just so that you can remember these 7 tips based on these 7 songs. But I've decided in the interest of time, and because even though I'm not a Rihanna fan myself, reading the room, we may not have enough of them. So I'm going to share the playlist afterwards. The first song is Dear Jesus. And that's my first tip. Start with God. The vision is yours. It was planted in your brain by God. You are the one who is called. You're the one who sees it. Everyone else around you doesn't see what you saw. But you need to share that with them in order for the vision to come to reality. And knowing where your vision comes from is useful because as you repeat your strategic planning, you need to continually connect with your creator. Because even if we're going along this journey from Ezulwini to Mbabane, maybe now there's something that's come up, I need to stop and get airtime or something. This detour, how do I do it in the most efficient way? Then the second one is shine bright like a diamond. In Eswatini, the business industry tends to copy and paste. And then you have, if I'm selling chicken dust by the side of the road in Matapa, somebody else is going to come and set up the exact same stand, selling the exact same chicken in the exact same spot. Why do we do that? If maybe instead of selling chicken dust, I decide I'm going to set up a shop that sells pap, salad, to go with the chicken, or drinks. Then instead of us competing for that same 20 malangani for the chicken, you're still getting your 20 malangani for the chicken. I'm getting my 20 malangani for my Coke and my pap and my salad. And we're both getting money as opposed to competing for that same 20 malangani. So in your strategy, look at what about you makes you different. What makes you shine? You shouldn't be like everybody else. And if you do, when you copy and paste, it's not yours. You weren't there when that vision was given to the person who came with the idea. And you'll try it. And then you'll ask, "Bona benda ngani?" It was called and given to them. And no matter what you've seen in the manifestation of it and how much you copy it, you can't get the same. So do what's in you, what you're called to do, and shine. My third one is under my umbrella, Ella, Ella. Remember that one? Exactly. Oh, business has ups and downs. It rains. Oh no, it doesn't rain, it pours. It pours. When you have your strategy, include in it preparation for when it pours. And that's how you make it through the rainy season. Bring your umbrella along with you. In 2020, when COVID hit Eswatini for lockdown, I work in a service sector where we provide cross-border transport to people, international travel. First thing that was closed was borders. Second thing that was closed was people moving around. Essentially, the solution we provide wasn't needed, if you view it that way. The solution we provided is getting people to where they need to be in a convenient, comfortable, efficient way. And so we partnered with the embassies who had people who needed to be expatriated to their homes. We had a Maswati who needed to get back home. I have a client who was traveling to Ireland who says, I got to see my father 2 days before he died of COVID because Transmagnific got me home. So in your strategy, bring your umbrella and be prepared for the fact that it's going to rain. It's going to rain, but you're going to make it through to the other side every time it does if you're strategic about it. The fifth one, sorry. Better have my money. So with that one, and I met a young lady earlier who's got a non-profit organization. And I've actually served in non-profits. I used to be the board chair of KI. Non-profits are slightly different from profits. And I want to point that out, that if you are strategically a for-profit company, you can't then act like you're a charity. And there are going to be people who will say, it's marketing, it's this, it's that. You must do a cost-benefit analysis. It must add the value. You must see it in your bottom line. So, calculate your costs and price accordingly. This is a problem that most men don't have, that women have, when calculating their costs. They don't see their time and their skill as a cost that needs to be factored into providing the service. The question that was asked earlier, what does rest look like to you? I wanted to add to that comment and say, be strategic about your rest. If you're going to say, I'm going away, taking 2 days off, but you have not planned for what's going to happen while you're away, you're going to be away at work. So even in what your rest looks like, be strategic. Who am I handing over to? Who's going to do this? Or if you're the business, for example, you're a dentist, or you're the business, or a hairdresser, you then need to inform your clients that I'm not going to be available for those 2 days, so that they're not calling you for those 2 days. So you don't take bookings for those 2 days, so that you can take the rest. And then the next one is work, 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 work. 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 Having a plan is just part of this process. The plan's not going to execute itself. You have to continually do the work. And if you do the work enough and set up the systems and the processes sufficiently, then you get to a level where you're able to manage it all better. So do the work. There's a lot of quick schemes going around, and there'll be people who'll be like, oh, we can do this with you, we can do this for you. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And then the next one, second to last one is, I can't sing. Lift me up. That one. You've got to take care of you. The vision is within you. As a leader, you're responsible for communicating it in a way that it can be manifested into the world. But it starts with you, because God has placed it in you. And part of taking care of yourself strategically is getting a board. Get a board. I know a lot of people go into business saying, I want to be my own boss. I promise you that's the biggest myth there is. You will never be your own boss. The clients are your boss too. So having a board allows you sanity. It allows you a sounding board, because you don't know what you don't know. I can sit here with all my 6 degrees and be like, I know a lot. But without my board of directors, I wouldn't be able to think of certain things. They question me. They provoke my thoughts. They disrupt and they help me even when I'm feeling too in it, because they're not operational. They're able to take a step back and say, hey, have you thought about looking at it this way? And I appreciate this value even more. They were speaking about Dr. Tanua earlier, and the fact that she's an empathetic board member. And I think that's where I get being an empathetic board member from. When you've sat on the other side of the table, you understand that, okay, this could be what's going on. And so, no matter how small you're starting, or how big you're starting, or you're a for-profit or non-profit, get yourself a board. And then the last track is with Nicki Minaj. Fly. I came to win, to conquer, yes, to thrive. And so, your plan, your strategic route must aim to win. Don't start with a maybe if, what if. Your goal should be to win, and not just win, to soar. And with that umbrella, when it pours, to conquer and to thrive. So, Nikki chooses to say in the song, when you go hard, your nays become yays. The people who are saying no, 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 start saying yes. I remember in 2006, one of the persons who'd been allocated as a mentor, because he was a senior in the tourism industry and he'd served for a very long time. He says to me, young lady, you're an auditor. And I'm like, yes, I am. He's like, stick to your day job. Don't do this. It's not going to work. And some of my colleagues said, but why? People have cars, there are planes, and there are taxis. But remembering your why, what is the problem that you solve? That person who doesn't want to take a taxi and doesn't want to take a flight and doesn't want to drive themselves, but wants to know what time they're leaving, what time they're arriving, wants to be comfortable, wants to be able to connect their MacBook and work on the Wi-Fi throughout their journey, needs the service. And with that closing, I just want to point out the fact that not everybody is your target market. You need to identify who your target market is and aim specifically for those people. And in aiming for them, you're not going in with the goal of making money. You're not going in with the goal of getting clients. You're going in with the goal of solving a problem. Because as long as you're solving a problem, all that is going to come. So with that said, soar, fly. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, just wow. Just wow, guys, eh? How many of you here are entrepreneurs? Yo, just wow. Yo, did you hear that? She says, it doesn't necessarily mean when you're your own boss, then you're your own boss. Hey? You need people to govern you also. The boss needs bossing. Eh? But not bossing around because this is my business, eh? At times you put your foot down and say, this is my business. But you also need the time to rest, reset, have people, be in charge on your behalf so that you can also be worried about the other things, right? Yeah. So thank you so much, Miss Meliswa, for that wonderful and insightful, presentation. I hope you took down notes, and then during the Q&A, please to participate. Our last, but certainly not the least, of our speakers is a woman who has done amazing things for this country, guys, spanning over 20 years. I told you, it's Tender Loving Care, the TLC, the Luke Commission. I know she knows what philanthropy is like. She knows self-service, which is what she's going to be telling us about today. So if you're in the business, of philanthropy, also because, like they said, leadership is servitude. You're serving. So even in your different spaces, whether you're a businesswoman, businessman, you're still serving somebody. So what does philanthropy look like and surviving the storm? Miss Echo, please come to the podium. Let's give her a round of applause. Isn't she lovely?
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be with you, and I look forward to sharing, and I've appreciated hearing from the other speakers and just hearing their wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom that comes, especially with experience, but for some of the young people in the room, just take what they said, and then you won't have to live the hard times. So I think we're just waiting for the PowerPoint to come up, because I am going to use a presentation, but maybe in the meantime, I will just say that for TLC, you heard about LaJoye. Maybe you didn't know what LaJoye was. Guess what? We didn't either. But when so many people want to come for healthcare and global aid is shrinking, you start to diversify and you start to become creative. So that's what we're working on with LaJoye and some of the other social enterprise programs that we're doing now, because we really want to be able to continue to serve, but we need to diversify our funding streams. And thank you to the organizers. I asked, have we met before? Because, I hate asking that question, because then someone says, yes, you know me from here and here, but she was straight with me to say, I only saw you on the internet. So I was grateful for that, because I was surprised when I got the invitation, because I didn't know the organizers, but thank you so much for inviting us to share the opportunities that we've had. And for all of the women and leaders of impact in the room, we're just using our God-given gifts, which so many have already talked about, to serve other people. When I got given the title, or the topic for today, innovation was something that I do talk about a lot. I've been invited a lot of places around the world to talk about innovation, and it's the first time I've ever been asked to talk about philanthropy. So I had to go to the dictionary and look it up. And it was interesting to see what it means. If you're like me and you hear the word philanthropy, you probably think about rich people giving something to charities. But guess what the word actually means in its origin? It means love for humankind. And I almost cried when I saw that. That means that we're philanthropists, because if you love people deeply, you're a philanthropist. And I thought it was just so beautiful. It's practical work that improves lives one by one. It's work that's not about us, but it's about the people that we serve. It's the desire to promote the welfare of others through the generous donation of money, time, and resources. And this has been the heart of TLC for the past 20 years in Eswatini. It's been our heart's desire to leverage every available resource to love and serve every person who comes to us, every last one. I'm humbled to share with you our journey of philanthropy and innovation, and it's my prayer that you'll be inspired to be a philanthropist or an innovator, no matter where you are. A little bit of our story. I was happy you shared your story, because we're also going to share our story. And as much as I've been in Eswatini for 20 years, and His Majesty has so graciously given us citizenship in Eswatini, it's my first time that I have, outside of our staff, shared our story. I was called to serve overseas in healthcare at the age of 8. And I'm grateful my parents didn't make fun of me. I sat on the front row of a church, and I heard someone speaking about someone in the Congo. And I felt like God wanted me to work in healthcare in Africa. My husband felt called at the age of 17. We met at 19, and we fell in love, I think because we both had the same calling first and then fell in love with each other. We married when we were 21. My husband is a double specialist in internal medicine and pediatrics, and I trained as a mid-level provider in surgery and pediatrics. When Harry was in medical school, we were blessed with triplet boys. At our first ultrasound, Harry said, "We can enjoy this or complain about it. Either way, it's the same amount of work." And then he said something that has laid the foundation for our life. It's all our attitude. That mindset prepared us when God led us to the epicenter of the HIV pandemic. In 2004, for the first time, it was my first stamp in a passport. I came to Eswatini. And then immediately they took us from the airport to the rural areas, and we went into the homesteads. We saw people dying everywhere. And our hearts were broken, and we realized the HIV crisis, it's not numbers. It was faces, it was names, it was families. And most sadly, it was children who were left behind without the hands that once held them. And we felt like God was calling us to work in the rural areas to delay orphanhood. At the time, we'll all remember these difficult times. International agencies warned that if something drastic did not change, Eswatini could be considered statistically extinct by the year 2050. In that moment, where devastation meant divine purpose, the calling we felt at 8 and 17 was defined. It had direction. We saw the gap of equitable access to healthcare, particularly in the rural areas, and we know we had to respond. So in 2005, the Luke Commission was born, not to make an organization, but because we wanted to respond to God's calling in our life. In 2006, Harry took his boards after 12 years of training, and a month later, we moved to Eswatini with our 4 young sons. We first went out to the rural areas. Mostly what we did at first was listen. And what we heard shaped everything. It was the patients who taught us that the foundation had to be compassion. How can we treat every person like our own family member, our own mother, father, brother, sister, or child? When we first came, there were no HIV testing kits, so we built relationship on every other kind of medicine. When the testing strips finally arrived, we were diagnosing 250 people a day with HIV in one community, and only had enough antiretrovirals to start 5 on treatment. So we continue to go to rural communities and build relationships. We started with a team of 10. Fast forward 20 years, the team scaled to 700, 97% local staff with 45 divisions, and in 2023, we took care of 300,000 outpatients. The combination of compassion, innovation, resilience, a diverse solutions toolkit, and international standards meant patients receive high-quality health care at the lowest possible cost. And we believe every patient is a VIP, a very important patient. God prepared our hearts for some time.
I was raised in Florida originally, born in Florida, and then my parents moved to North Carolina when I was about 6.
We did grow up poor, but not poor in spirit. My parents, they always told us that the sky's the limit, that we need to do anything that God tells us to do, and that has really been a guiding light for my life.
My dad is a Dutch guy, so a little bit frugal. So we actually built the house as we lived inside of it, and we had tarps over the roof while we were living in it. We had pit latrines. We washed in the creek and then in the sink that was there. We really lived very low-key.
We didn't have healthcare insurance when I grew up. When my sister was 15, she was very sick, and my father tried many times to get her admitted at the hospital, and they refused. And I was 17 at the time. I knew very well they were refusing us because we didn't have healthcare insurance. I feel brokenhearted for people who don't know what love feels like and don't have access to healthcare.
I know sometimes we think on the other side of the ocean people don't grow up poor, but I grew up in that tent you saw, and I used pit latrine, and I learned something. The worst thing that can happen to someone is not that they're impoverished. The worst thing that can happen to someone is that they don't know what love feels like. My parents loved us even though we were poor, and they told us the sky's the limit. We did always take the boys with us. When we worked out in the rural areas, they would do video school on the bus and then come and work with us when they were done. God blessed us with our 5th child, a girl, and this was us in the field just 2 weeks after cesarean section. We couldn't leave the people. Our heart was always drawn there. And the children built relationships and bridges we could have never built alone. Reaching some of the sites was difficult at times. And to preserve trust, we always worked late into the night to care for everyone who was waiting. We never left anyone behind. Our boys would fall asleep on anything, anywhere. And when we were done, we'd just pick them up and put them on the bus and take them home. This was our home for the first 8 years. And these containers were our warehouses. In the bedrooms, we stored commodities and medications. All of us ate in the small kitchen. And Harry and I shared one room with our 4 boys, not because we had to. I owned a successful business overseas which provided the seed funding for the first 5 years TLC operated. We could have used those funds for other things and lived in different ways, but we felt God calling us to focus on saving lives and to delay orphanhood for as many children as possible. In 2013, God opened the door to purchase 80 acres of farmland in the center of Eswatini, and it was our new home in just 17 days. We moved the containers and started building. Fast forward to today, the triplets have graduated university with degrees in international business, cybersecurity, and business management, and one is going to medical school in July. The 4th is in his 3rd year of business finance. And God has led all the boys, now young men, to stay and work with us in Eswatini. That's a gift we never expected. Since arriving in Eswatini, we've welcomed 2 more children, a daughter who's 13 and a son who's 10. And we have our Makoti now, and a grandson and a granddaughter on the way any day. Since 2013, our local team has built 25 buildings on the Miracle campus, centrally located near TriCash on the MR9. It serves as a central supply chain hub and referral hospital, providing primary care to tertiary level services, including critical and specialized surgical care. As TLC grew, we realized many staff were carrying deep trauma and unprocessed grief from the HIV pandemic. And we knew we needed to create a place where people belong, a safe place for inner healing, where we can all move from surviving to thriving. We launched an 8-week onboarding process to grow compassionate leaders in personal growth, leadership development, Christian faith, service learning, and on-the-job training, all with a strong emphasis on team unity. New staff have time to absorb our core values, which are teachable spirit, looks for solutions, committed to unity, dedicated to every last one, not about me, servanthood, and an attitude of gratefulness. To understand the order of our core values, calling is number 1. It's the cornerstone. It's the reason we do everything we do. And competence, about 7 years ago, we moved it to last because we realized, while it's very important, it must be in submission to the other 4, calling, character, culture, and chemistry. Over 1,400 people have finished base camp. God blessed us with a training and leadership center of excellence built by about 50 churches in North America, a place where our souls rest and restore. With an auditorium large enough for the entire staff, at TLC, onboarding isn't joining an organization. It's joining a mission, a movement, a calling. You're not just an employee, you're a family, you belong. You are part of a team transforming lives, including all of us. I'm just going to ask, because I have one of our senior female leaders here who is one of the directors of the staff development program, Gugu Damini, to stand and just recognize her for amazing work that she's done in staff development at TLC. Every morning, our team gathers for prayer, scripture, and recites our mission, vision, core values, core qualities, and creed. With unified alignment, the team deploys to assignments across the country. These are a few pictures of the team moving around the country. This video clip, taken on the 20th of January 2025, shows the high demand for health services. Seeing our team serve with love and compassion is so touching. Patients arrive as early as 3 a.m. and finish at midnight, and the team continues to take care of them until every last one I never thought it possible to work with a team such as this. The resilience gained through our onboarding process came just in time. We were about to be tested. During COVID-19, most facilities could not accept patients due to lack of oxygen and other operational challenges. This is a picture of our ICU during the third wave of COVID. We supported the national COVID-19 response in 3 ways. We admitted 90% of the nation's ICU cases. We built the first oxygen plant in Eswatini, which ended up being the largest of its kind in Africa. And we also developed the digital system for the national COVID-19 vaccination program. The second wave of COVID was about as difficult as 2004 when we first came. We were completely dependent as a nation on South Africa for oxygen, and we were only receiving about half of what the nation needed. This picture here is just 1 day's worth of cylinders empty, waiting to go back to South Africa to be filled. Like in wartime, we sent an SOS out to all of our senior leaders asking them to send their best of the best. This is an IT manager who managed regulators for the whole of the second wave. Our software engineers used real-time data to determine the size of the plant. We installed the reticulation system, and just 6 weeks later, we connected to a liquid oxygen tank from South Africa, which was the bridge while our construction team flipped down to build the oxygen plant. These are pictures of the oxygen plant that they built in just 52 days. And then on the 9th of June, 2021, for the first time in our country's history, we started producing oxygen just as the third wave was incoming. You may recall the civil unrest during this time, which was exactly the same time as the third wave came in, and all oxygen supply from South Africa was cut off. For 2 weeks, our plant was the only oxygen source for the entire nation. Having oxygen changed absolutely everything. At the peak of the third wave, we had 138 patients admitted at once, 91 in the ICU, and 55 on ventilators. Because so many people were coming in, we set up a tent so that we could immediately get people on oxygen and drips. This is CCTV footage from outside of our hospital during the third wave. Ambulances arrived in rapid fire succession from all across the country. Our logistics, supply chain, and spiritual care teams embedded full-time in the hospital, ensuring staff and VIPs were always supported so that the medical team could do what only they could do. This is the main part of our ICU with 48 people on ventilators in this picture. The digital system mitigated unnecessary loss of life. Our software engineers were in PPE on the ward writing code in real time. 30 minutes later, we would be using modules, and our team never ever quit. They never absconded work, they never missed a shift, and they never talked about burnout. And we witnessed yet another miracle. During the second wave of COVID, Eswatini had one of the highest case fatality rates in the world at 4.4%. By wave 3, with enough oxygen and ventilators, and let me never forget to say, a team willing to do the hard work, it dropped to 2%. This is one of my favorite pictures from COVID, the third wave. On the right, ventilators arriving at 1 a.m. On the left, a supply chain and biomed team member. No one told them to be there. They knew people's lives depended on it. Within an hour, the ventilators were set up, tested, and on patients. And I shudder to think how many lives would have been lost without that level of commitment. Compassionate resilience also has helped close critical gaps in specialty surgical care in Eswatini. We're using the digital system to connect with specialists all over the world, providing a straight-up safe learning environment for our medical team so that we never have to refer someone where possibly they won't get help. This program has allowed us to do 5,000 eye surgeries in the last 10 years. This is a time lapse in our operating theater, which demonstrates how the digital system tracks time and motion to ensure every second counts. And these are some of the patients coming out of the operating theater and waiting to get their patches off. And then there's this. I know they say there's no heaven on earth, but when you see people that are blind see, it's like heaven on earth. The auditorium and the Training and Leadership Center of Excellence also serves as our big bedroom, where patients lodge to ensure time and motion so that we can get as many patients into the operating room as possible. We also saw in the data many people in Eswatini needed joint replacements, and they were disabled and unable to work or move, so we trained a local orthopedic team to perform joint replacements. Again, using the digital system to coordinate every aspect of care, so that people like Sibusiso could have both of his hips replaced. This is Sibusiso in rehab, and you never know in healthcare who you're working on, because we found out later he was a singer. So while he was still in rehab, he came and he performed there at the Training and Leadership Center of Excellence. I know that you've heard some about the digital ecosystem. We learned that technology ensures integrity and operational excellence at every level. So about 8 years ago, we had a lot of pain points, so we started building our own digital system. And now it's called Luvelo. I'm going to let Nami share about Luvelo.
Every day, teams around the world are challenged to operate in imperfect and increasingly complex environments, whether facing unstable connectivity, supply chain leakage, corruption, staffing limitations, paper-based and complex systems frustrate efforts to achieve the level of operational excellence needed to reach their full potential for impact and growth, causing millions of dollars in lost productivity and leaving millions of people underserved. Existing solutions are often too expensive, unnecessarily complex, not easy to use on mobile devices, or they simply create more problems than they solve. Until now, Luvelo offers a comprehensive enterprise suite designed specifically for emerging economies, created by a team of skilled individuals with first-hand experience in what that really means. Luvelo's ecosystem of mobile-first, stackable, interlocking apps and team committed to compassionate service empower government and private organizations alike to digitize operational processes and record management in a unified digital ecosystem, unlocking a new frontier for transformative change. Let's discover how we can drive your mission forward through our 4 pillars. A suite of productivity tools streamlines task management, organize workflows, standardize operating procedures, and simplify real-time coordination of business activities. Luvelo's personnel management suite streamlines workforce operations with tools for recruitment, biometric time and attendance tracking, incident reporting, and performance monitoring. Easy-to-use scheduling features ensure teams with the right competencies are deployed efficiently, while task management tools enable collaboration through Kanban boards, real-time notifications, and strategic dashboards. Luvelo's supply chain suite ensures end-to-end visibility, with features including inventory tracking, with barcode scanning, automated reorder alerts, and procurement tools that integrate approvals, digital signatures, and audit trails. Equipment maintenance systems coordinate services schedules to maximize asset lifespan, while fleet management capabilities track vehicle licensing and leverage AI to simplify analysis of fuel usage and GPS-based movements. Luvelo's healthcare service suite redefines patient care, offering real-time mobile-friendly documentation for inpatient and outpatient care, telehealth support, and vaccination tracking. A health portal provides patients with 24/7 access to lab results, medical history, and appointment scheduling. Features like self-check-in, GPS-tagged dose administration, and adverse event monitoring optimize healthcare delivery at scale with precision and accountability. Simplify your digital future with Luvelo.
That's Makoti, by the way. I have to say, she's not here because she says she's ready for the baby next week, but she's here in spirit. And this has just really changed how we can operate. It's been recognized internationally. Honestly, we didn't start to build an ERP. We started to solve our own problems and make ourselves more efficient and more effective. And then we built the ERP. People started coming to Eswatini to see it and said, can we please have it where we're at? So we started pivoting, and we're hoping that over time that we'll be able to increase the number of patients we see through social enterprise. This is one of our social enterprise lines. Luvelo has been recognized internationally, recently winning the Africa Supply Chain Excellence Awards, competing with entrants from the UAE and the USA as well. Let's hear from the head
It's
judge.
hard to talk about this particular award without getting really emotional. I think it was certainly a unanimous award from the judges. And if you talk to Mike and to Martin, 30 years of judging, the best entry they have ever seen. I mean, it's very unusual, but they scored an average of about 94% on their scoring. I've never seen anything like it at all. So for the special award, top award of the evening, can I ask the whole team from the Luke Commission for their entry, Lovello, to please come up.
Lovello has also empowered a world-class snakebite treatment unit. We all know that the narrative used to be, if you get bitten by a black mamba, say your goodbyes. In 2018, one of our advisors told us, if we had an ICU, we would save the lives of the black mamba victims. And I said, then we're gonna have an ICU, because I'm not gonna keep watching people die from this snake. So we built an ICU, which is how we were prepared for COVID. You talk about how God leads. We built an ICU, and that's why we were ready for COVID. These are a few of the children who have survived after being placed on ventilators, being bitten by black mambas. Lovello also tracks which type of snake is biting where in the country. And in 2024, we had a miracle. For the first time in recorded history, Eswatini did not lose a single life or limb to snakebite due to the availability of critical care and supply chain excellence, ensuring that there was never a stockout of antivenom, and a big shout out to the Eswatini Antivenom Foundation for all of their work around making sure that we have good antivenom in the country. Lalo is a patient who arrived on an ambulance. He was coding. They were doing CPR on him when he arrived from a black mamba bite. He was immediately intubated and put on a ventilator. By day 3, he appeared brain dead. His pupils were fixed and dilated, and there was no reaction when they weaned the sedation medications off. He didn't fight that tube in his throat. But we had already gone through that scenario and decided that we wouldn't take them off of the ventilator because sometimes black mamba bites can make people look brain dead. So we left him on, and on day 6, he squeezed someone's hand. After being extubated, he recalled everything, including the music that was playing in the hospital, which doctors were taking care of him, and he was really angry at his family because they were searching for his national ID so they could prepare his death certificate. He was paralyzed. He could hear everything, but he couldn't tell anyone what he was feeling inside. And here's Lalo right before going home. Lovello also empowers the first approved drone network in Eswatini, and I was so glad to have Ndile here. Eswaka has been the most objective, fair party to work with. I cannot even explain to you. Everything has just been straightforward. There's no detours, there's no rabbit trails. And that's one of the reasons we were able to get the first approved drone network in the country up in the sky in record time. This is the drone network launch in June of 2024. And yes, those are all school kids. We invited all the neighboring schools because we want them to see innovation in action. We want them to dream. Our team of 5 local pilots is capacitated to run the entire drone operation. We did not want to bring people in from outside to run the drone operation. We have a female pilot. She's right over there. She's going to stand up for you. Samu Matsaba. She in this video, she's installing the battery and loading the goods. This flight cuts 1.5 hour road trip to 13 minutes, climbing 2,000 feet in elevation along the way. The network revolutionizes on-demand dispatch and accountability of high-value commodities, snakebite antivenom, for one, delivering medications, blood, and lab supplies to anywhere in Eswatini in less than 45 minutes. And here's Samu. She is demoing to the Deputy Prime Minister because she was out to look at the drones as well. Lovello also empowers e-solutions hubs to bring telehealth where patients need it most. Vulnerable patients spend too much time on buses with their little resources that they need to feed their children, waiting in our long lines just to get basic medications that you and I have in our houses, or we'll just run to clicks to get. We had a dream. What if patients could come to a 12-meter container and first register using Lovello, and then get their vitals checked, integrated with Lovello. And then in the third room, video consult with a doctor, who can then consult with them and order their medication. As soon as their medication is ordered, it issues a once-off PIN. In the fourth room of the container, there's a very large vending machine that holds 270 SKUs and 3,000 items. You put your OTP in, and then guess what? You get your medication. This is all completely off-grid, powered by solar and Starlink. We were very humbled to showcase the telehealth hub at the Eswatini Trade Fair in 2024. Over the past few years, and we're not good at telling our story, I'll be honest with you, we're better at working and taking care of the people in front of us, but once we built the oxygen plant, people started coming from the whole world, from every continent, to visit the Miracle Campus. They usually wanted to look at the oxygen plant or the digital system or the telehealth hub or the drones. But when they leave, they realize it's the people who make the real difference. They always ask me, how do you get people to work like that? So, I didn't get them to work like that. They're working from here. Once you're working from your heart, everything changes. These are some of the things they said. This is the quintessence of excellence, innovation, and impact in health services. How can we scale this in the kingdom and beyond? World Bank Country Director. Senior Supply Chain Advisor from the Global Fund Geneva. We've been looking all over the world for the global oxygen solution, that's how he said it, since 2019. We found it right here on the Miracle Campus. And a senior political advisor from Washington, D.C., who was very instrumental in architecting Rwanda's economic recovery after the genocide, came in 2022 and said something to us that changed us. He said TLC's commitment to and systems for organizational excellence will save more lives than TLC's work in healthcare. And that's saying a lot when you've committed your life to healthcare. And then he said, the digital system you have built can change the GDP of nations. And we all know changing the GDP of nations means the vulnerable are better taken care of. And that's where our heart is. We're so grateful to be with you today. My hope is that as we've walked through this journey, you will just see any area where you can be a philanthropist or an innovator and grab that opportunity. I love what was said just before me, that the calling is in you. And I agree 1,000%, don't copy and paste. When you copy and paste, when it's hard, you won't cope. So just all of us, God has given us something special inside of us that we need to walk out. And I'm encouraging each one of you to do that as you already are. Thank you so much.
Wow. Can somebody take over from here? Yes. Because, hey, what was that, guys? Did you also go through the emotions of this presentation? It was hectic. Echo. You took us on a, I don't know. It was a transmagnific ride, you know. Except there were bumps, you know. The ride was not, it was smooth sailing on, you know, some aspects, and then the others were like really rough. Guys, you remember COVID-19. I'm glad that the presentation ended on Luvelo because, wow, if it ended on the COVID-19 component, guys, we lost people. Yeah. And like you said, those people were not just numbers. They were not statistics. They were real people. They were our relatives. They were our friends, our parents. It was sad. Do you know feeling this sad? I never personally lost a relative during COVID, like a personal relative. But you know that when these people died, it hit home. It felt like you knew them. It felt like they were your relatives. You were losing, you know, someone close to you. COVID was bad. And to everyone that lost someone, we are really sorry. So guys, this brings us to the last part of our panel, you know, discussion, our speakers. Sharing, you know, with us their journeys, you know, what they've been through, you know, during their time, you know, as entrepreneurs as well. So this is where the Q&A comes in. I hope you've been, you know, thinking about it, you know, thinking about the presentations, you know, yeah, and what, you know, you can throw to the floor in terms of, learning more or even just reflecting. But while you ponder and think about that, may I request the owner of this vehicle to just go check on their vehicle. Nothing happened, guys. I think there's a door that was left open. So it's RSD 486AL. Susa, is that you? No. RSD 486AL. Please check your vehicle. I think you left a door open. Okay, question and answer
Right
session.
here.
Where?
It's not
Okay.
a question. I'm
Okay.
so
Oh, it's
sorry.
V.
I'm probably going ahead of myself, but it's because of the way that I'm feeling at this moment. I just wanted to please request in this moment right now, if Mage can please just pray for us to seal that. I had a very strong feeling. I actually almost went up in Rabba Shanda Kabostad. And I'm just asking at this moment, I'm really sorry to interrupt the program, if she can just please pray for us
Mage
after
echo.
what we just, Mage echo. Just
Okay.
a brief prayer. Siyacela, Mage. Siyabonga.
Dear Jesus, I just pray, God, for our nation. We speak about the pain in healthcare. When our people don't get healthcare, we're in pain. God, we want to thrive as a nation. We don't want to survive. And God, that's my prayer over our nation. May the blood of Jesus run. And God, may you give us divine wisdom and courage. We've spoken about courage today. We need courage. All the solutions for us are right here in Eswatini, God. Now let's have the courage to action them, because we want to walk out your dreams and visions for our nation, for our families, and for our communities. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Wow. Thank you, V. Thank you. That's what you do when you're a child of God. When the Holy Spirit speaks, you act. So thank you for allowing the Holy Spirit to speak to us through you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Q&A. Yes. Carol, I spoke about you, but you had stepped out.
Thank you. I just want you to ask all of you, give Nomsa Echo a round of applause.
Woo!
Thank you so much. I want to recognize all the speakers. Thank you for allowing Women Impact Leadership Forum to invite you. It is a sacrifice, a big one. Thank you. When 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, we can all make an impact. Organizers, don't despair. Resilience, resilience. Even if the room is not filled, but we're here because we're women of substance. We're here as men to come and rally behind the women because we're equal. I just want to say, I know the speakers. Mantizi, Magetala, thank you very much for advocacy and the lobbying. I'm very, very interested in lobbying and advocating for the change in Eswatini. Miliswa, we've come a long way, and thank you for sharing your story. You know what? When you said to me you had pitched your presentation, I said, do what you do best. Thank you. That is a story. I remember Technosev, we rallied, and you have been standing. Transmafik was something, a friend of mine was leaving on a Friday and to Ireland, and he broke his leg, and you were there. And Father McCormick will really appreciate this. He's just lost his mom, and thank you. You know, you did it. To Andile, she's not here in the room. We want to thank you, Andile. Emotional intelligence. I'm a recruiter, and I know self-mastery. You did well. That empathy, it resonates with a lot of us. Empathy as a mother, as a spiritual person. Thank you. And I just want to say, echo, Nomsa, I came here because I don't know you. And it's the first time I wanted to hear for the first time, what are you all about? And thank you to your family. The family really is behind you. Thank you so much. And I just don't understand. I'd never understood why the persecution. You've gone through a lot. And I now understand. I think I understand. And we are out there as women. Women of impact, let's really behind. The healthcare in Eswatini is collapsing. And if somebody can stand, and even through the difficulty that you're going through, all the persecution, we're advocating. And thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Carol. Thank you. I cannot say more or less. Do you want to react, Nomsa?
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I just leaned over and said, I don't know her. Who is she? So I guess it's mutual, but you can come and see us at the campus. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Her name is Carol Ngobo. She is the director of AM Recruitment Consultancy, AMRS.
She did tell me.
Yeah. Okay, Kali, you have the mic next.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll be very quick. Meliswa, you're my girl. You're amazing. Thank you so much. And I love how your talk was very practical. And those songs, I'll never forget. So thank you so much. Maganomsa, it is such a pleasure for me to thank you today in person. So my mom died during the second wave, and she was at Luke Commission. I think you spoke about commission, the compassion of your staff. So I remember when she called me, it was a nurse that called me because we'd given her my number. It was around 1 a.m. On the 1st of 2021. So I remember when she told me, she used this word, she said, which means mom passed on. For a second I stopped, and then I asked her one question, which was very important to me. I said, how was she when she passed on? Did she seem troubled? Was she okay? She said she was at peace. She prayed. She said, when I came in on my shift, we prayed. And she prayed very hard. So I knew she was going. And for me, that gave me peace. So even from when with all of my family members, because I had to call all of them, when I was calling them, I told them, don't worry, she's in a better place. She prayed before she passed on. So that compassion from your staff, from you, from your family, thank you so much. It makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. I know everybody, because I was extremely close to my mom, everybody thought I was going to fall apart. But because of that one thing, she was at peace. I never fell apart. Today I run a foundation named after my mother. So thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you very much. And to everyone who lost relatives in COVID, I just want to say I'm sorry. It was very difficult because people will be okay, and 5 minutes later they'll be crashing. And when we didn't have oxygen, which unfortunately was during your mom's time, it was so devastating. And we knew that the only thing we could do was to love people because we didn't have the one thing we needed, which was oxygen. And I remember, and you say 1 January 2021. On the 26th of December 2020, I called our executive team together and I said, you know we don't have oxygen. I know we don't have oxygen. And outside they're calling us a slaughterhouse. What do you want to do? And we went around the circle. There was about 20 people in the circle. And every person said, we will not push even one person away. And the last guy said, I'll never forget, we might be the last hope of the nation. And we decided that night that if it was our mom, we would never push her away. And we decided we wouldn't push anyone away. I'm telling you, I will sleep if I reach the age of 90 in peace. Because in that very difficult time when there were no answers, we didn't push anyone away. We loved them. And I can tell you that the staff was loving. They were so kind and patient and compassionate in the worst situations. Sometimes their own family members were sick. So I really appreciate you sharing your story. She's also shared with me her father also passed away at TLC as we're sitting up here on the stage. And I know that that happened, and I also know people lived. And if we wouldn't have tried, it would have been, as much as it was difficult, we really did our best to lean in and not back away. And the resilience was the big part. And I think we've talked a lot about that today. But thank you so much for sharing your story. It means a lot to us. Some of our staff are in the room, and I know it'll mean a lot to them as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eko. The lady who has the mic, please.
Good afternoon, ladies. I'm not even sure how I'm going to speak now because my throat is cranky and my eyes are getting a bit wet. But I am just excited to be here. Hlonipile, well done, Sisi, for putting this together. I just want to congratulate our panel. We're a bit late. Apologies for that. My name is Nothando Kabago Mhlanga. I work with AWPDF, an organization that Magetizi was recently a chairperson of. So I am happy to be here because just like Maggie Carroll was saying, she knows the panel. I feel like that as well. Except for Maggie Eko, I just knew a lot about her. I had never actually had to experience it like I did today. And oh my goodness. My emotions are all over the place. Melissa, I know her as well. We've worked together. We continue to work together even now. We just keep meeting in different projects. Magetizi, I've worked with her, not directly, but I've worked with her indirectly. But I am just happy. I am happy because there's one thing that stands out for me. When you put in your A game, when you put in excellence, everything else just falls into place. She spoke about putting your heart in what you do. Earlier on, we had an event. We are commemorating Africa Day. So we had a public lecture earlier on at the King Sobusa, which is why we were late to come here. But we knew that even if we come here at 4, we will definitely be here because it is that important to us to collaborate and be intentional about the collaboration and moving people's lives forward. She spoke about doing things from the heart. I was saying the same thing earlier on. I was the MC at the event, and I was telling them that I once volunteered in IYF. It's a Korean organization. And the one thing they speak about is whatever you do, put your heart in it. If you did not put your heart in it, it will show. And if you put your heart in it, it will equally show. So there's one thing that I am picking up from the speakers here today. Their hearts are in what they are doing. That is why no matter what they do, no matter what happens in society, because we all know, Melissa was telling us her story when COVID hit. She had her umbrella. Girl got through. And she's standing today. We all know about Maggie Eko. I don't even need to go into that. But here she is, her standing here today telling her story. Oh my goodness. I have never cried so much at a public event, but I've just been wailing the whole time because, oh my goodness, that was just so intense. But here's where I'm going to. There is a movement that is going on in Eswatini. I'm not sure if some of you might have picked it up, but I definitely have because I'm looking at, yesterday there was a Campus Crusade event at the Hilton, women leaders. There was Sylvia Mtetwa there was Maggie Lindiwe, there was Maggie Tande, dietitian. It was, Miss Swaziland was there. It was not just a women gathered. The Holy Spirit was there. Like each and every one of us was like, oh my gosh, I felt like this was just for me. It's the same feeling I got since I got here. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on? You know, so it is really a time to be intentional and align because there is a movement. So if you don't position yourself, you'll miss out on this wagon. We speak a lot. I always say, we always speak a lot about collaboration. I go to the podium, hey, I want to collaborate. I go back and sit down. I don't even know who's sitting next to me. But I just told people about collaboration. So what I'm liking now is we are very intentional about the collaboration, and it's a good thing to watch. And my prayer is, can we make it a reality? Whatever that the spirit is trying to achieve, can we position ourselves to make sure we see it through? Because we have been given a mandate. Velile, Mzomba Nyamatane, thank you, Sisi. Okay, I'm sorry, I won't do it. But I'm sorry. The whole time that Mage Echo was speaking, I was shaking because I'm just like, oh my God, what's going on? Thank you for listening. For everyone that is out here today, I am sure there is something here for us that we have come to take. And I am not trying to be spiritual about it, but it is what it is. You know, take it or leave it at this point. You know, so I just want to implore each and every one of us here, let's be intentional. Let's stop just talking. Let's leave the talk. It's time to do that. The world is waiting for women. There was an old man, Lebesnai, earlier on. I had a little chat with him and he says, hey, kunengi man. Yinye imvo lengiyibonako kecha lengihluphako. Bomake bathwele kakhulu. Ubona ngani? Ubona ngekuthi makufe indvodza ekhaya, ikhaya liyachubeka. Asekufe make. The man doesn't even survive for very long because what is he there for? You know, because the woman has been there carrying the home. I'm sorry to go on and on, but all I'm just trying to say, I think I should stop here. Let us move, women. Let us move. Let's be intentional. Let's do it. Let's do it. You know, we've always spoken, but now it's time for action. And it's time to show the world that we are not the weaklings that they've always said we were. We are actually carrying the whole world on our shoulders. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Women, this is your time. There's no better time than now. Okay, Sissy, you have the mic. Please go.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Samgeli Siwen Langamandla. I'm a young entrepreneur. My business focuses on business consulting and marketing. I'm also a young leader. I will call myself a leader because I have assigned myself to that because I feel like that's what God has planned for me as one of my purposes. First and foremost, I would just like to maybe share my story with you in terms of like when it comes to healthcare. I was helping my mother recently with her master's when they were looking at, she was looking at employee participation and decision making when it comes to the health sector. The presentation that we just got from TLC was amazing because having to have read so many documents and articles and data about employees not being involved when it comes to making decisions, that is why I think our system has been failing because there's not much involvement. We don't really go to the people on the ground to ask what is going on, how can we improve our systems. So this is amazing. I was also very emotional about the presentation. Oh my gosh, I will not go on about it, but thank you so much. We really appreciate the work that is being done and what it will keep on doing for our nation. I have a question because I am a young person who is focusing on leading other entrepreneurs in terms of like improving their businesses through incubation. I'm very much interested in community and economic development. That is my purpose. That is my NGO side of things. And on the other side, I run a for-profit company, which is the business consulting and marketing. So my question is, how do I balance these two things? Because you may find that I'm leaning towards one and missing out on the next. So that question will go to Magemeliswa, and thank you for your presentation and gracing us and actually supporting us as young people because you were one of the judges that we had for the Youth Business Accelerator, and that changed a lot of our mindsets. Like the young people who were there are very grateful for all that you shared with them. So yes, that is my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, I understood your question correctly.
you want to find balance between your non-profit organization and your for-profit organization. My advice is the best way to find balance is to find synergy. Find what is similar. In running a non-profit and running a for-profit, there are the core elements that are the same. And if you apply yourself uniformly in those, instead of splitting yourself up 50-50, they're now only split up on what's different about them. And at the end of both of them, you'll find that ultimately in your core, they're the same. While how they show up in the world is one gets profit and the other doesn't, but you and your being and your calling will be the same. So just find where they overlap, and that allows you to duplicate your time, to hit two birds with one stone. In the front.
Thank you to all the speakers that were here. My name is Andisile Howe. I'm in the environmental space, just to summarize, because there's a lot going on. But thank you so much for the presentation. I'm Look Commission. There's so many stories. I've heard of people's lives getting saved from a snake bite, and also during COVID at church, such that people are like, don't even go to the hospital, just go to Look Commission. That's where you should go. So thank you for the tireless work that you do. And I think for me, being able to help, how are you able to choose your people? How are you able to motivate them? I know you said you work from the heart and things like that, but it takes a lot to work with the dream team like that to make things success. So I think perhaps for me, from that advice, from a leadership perspective, how to help keep your people motivated, to keep going, and even inspiring others to want to support your initiative. And then my other question was similar to hers. I struggle with the profit-making side. I'm just a server by nature. I forget that I need to make money for this thing to be operational. So perhaps that how can you tap into that gear of making money for your NGO? Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Nomsa, over to you.
Thank you. Let me take the last one first, and then I'm going to ask one of my staff to take the first one. Prepare. On the last one, what's been very difficult for us is that we started in the rural areas, and most of the people in the rural areas, they don't have income. So we started by not charging anything for our services. Then, over time, we got the Miracle Campus, there was a lot more services available, and people started coming that had medical aid or could pay. And it was very difficult to figure out how to shift the gear, because at the peak, we were seeing 30,000 people a month. That's 1,000 people a day, even the weekends. It's a lot. So moving to a different business model when you have this massive engine that's running is very difficult. That's why I'm going to say that sometimes crisis brings opportunity. Actually, every time crisis brings opportunity, it's just whether or not we get so discouraged we can't see it. When USAID has been a big partner for us for 15 years. And I can say more than a partner, they're a trusted friend. Losing that relationship is more about losing the friendship than it is the money. Money can come from different places, but you don't find a friend that you've had for 15 years that's never betrayed you like this. And that was our relationship. So in February when that happened, as everyone knows, the number of people just skyrocketed coming to TLC. We used to take care of 50,000 people in a year. Then we were taking care of 300,000 people in a year. And our team did it. You saw in the video. They can do it. But we were not doing it with the resources we needed to do it in a healthy way. And we knew that we were going to have to move to a more diversified funding model. So I'm saying that this was not something we were good at, but we realized we have to be good at it. Even getting ourselves to take money. That was so bizarre for us. But you know what? We want to take care of people. We want to generate whatever revenue that we can so that we can take care of the person who cannot pay, the most vulnerable. And we are working on stratifying that. So if I had it to do over again, it's very hard to say what I would do. People have asked me, do you regret building the plant? I cannot regret building that plant. It saved so many people's lives. But I regret that we don't support each other's successes. I regret that we are still buying oxygen from the biggest industrial gas company in the world, headquartered in Ireland. I really appreciated what she said about the competition copy-paste. Because if we celebrated each other's successes, we would actually get more than competing. And so one thing I will say just before I shift, so I'm just be intentional. She would have a better answer for this than me. Just be intentional about knowing that if you don't generate revenue, you can't do the work where your heart is. And that's where we're at right now. We have to throttle or decrease the number of people we're seeing so that we can get our revenue generation engine running so that we can go back to what we love to do. And it's not easy. I'll be honest with you. I knew 2 years ago the trajectory was not healthy. And I told everybody I could. I went everywhere I could. I cried for 6 months because I knew when we started pushing people away, people would die. And that breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart because until 2023, we never turned away one person ever. So it was very painful. But one of the things that I think is so key when it comes to team building is to develop trust. Because everything is built on trust. If we don't trust each other, we won't be open with each other. We won't share with each other. You saw in our core qualities, there's chemistry. Why? Have you ever worked next to someone you don't like? The day is so long. Everything seems terrible. But when you work next to someone you get along with well, how does it feel? It feels great, doesn't it? So I'll turn over to, I will call on Zinchle and Gugu. If you can just give a short, you know, we've gone through the trenches to figure this out, and we believe God's done something special. And when I've traveled around the world, initially they asked me to travel. I've been to every continent now except Antarctica to speak about what happened here during COVID. And every time I talk about it, at the end, the only thing they want to hear about is the team. They don't care about all that stuff. They care about the people who did it. And I know it's the people who did it. I can sit here on this stage and tell you that you saw my background. I grew up poor. We didn't have food sometimes. Payroll has always been extraordinarily important to me. But there have been 5 months in the last 12 months we could not make payroll for the first time in TLC's history. And the staff kept working. No, I met with them and I told them, you don't need to stay. You could go if you want to go. No one would go. They kept taking care of the people who came. Something is special. I do know something is special. And God, that's one of the things where God is leading us, because there are other hospitals on the continent that want this training that we've done at TLC. And so this is through the pain of losing our trusted friend, having to spin the whole funding model into something different. We do believe that God is going to take this pain and allow it to be multiplied into other nations, and we're excited about that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to that. Are we having stuff? Yeah. Are we? Yeah. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gugu Dlamini. I will just share briefly what that has been helping us as the staff is the love and the compassionate that we have learned from, especially from our leaders, and the fact that we know that, you know, at TLC we are not at work, but we are a family. That also help us a lot. And also we have an induction process that is called Base Camp, where we learn spiritual, even how you can also, you know, share our struggles and even our emotional. There's a PowerPoint I like myself with the topic say trust. And there is a question that says, who is the person that you trust in your life? And you know, each and every time I do the PowerPoint, many people will say, I don't trust anyone. And then when you ask them, you can see that everyone has gone through a lot. Then after finding Gutsi, they've gone through a lot, then we then have them go through counseling sessions with them. We pray together with them, and also have a session where we have a one-day training for forgiveness and reconciliation, because we know everyone, you know, we have these people that we are dealing it, you know, in our hearts. I mean, I'm also a living testimony of that. You know, when I arrived at TLC 2016, I was just, you know, I can't even share that, but I was all over the place. And I remember because I was a counselor. So I went to one of the outreaches. So one of the kids just called me, hey, Auntie Coco. And I was very angry because I knew that Aunt is a selfish person. Why? Because of what I've going through myself. So, you know, unforgiveness was following me all the rest of my life. But then that's when I get transformed, even myself. So it's a matter of you being open, and you learn and you accept the love that you are given. And then the fact that God has transformed you, then you then decide, I also want to be part of that transformation to other people as well. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Was it Zinhle and who? Just the last one?
Yeah. As Kuku has mentioned, what has also helped us at TLC, we have an onboarding program. So for every new staff member joining the team, we go through base camp. So in base camp, that is where we learn. We tend to learn about the Look Commission. We learn more about the team as well. So in that induction program, we tend to inject the TLC DNA to each and every staff member. So each and every day, we're facing a lot of challenges. So we only don't want to focus on the challenges, but we also want to bring solutions as well. In everything that we do, we want to show that we are teachable. We are one united team. In everything, we put others first. And we have a lot of things to be grateful for. So we also show the attitude of gratefulness. So that is where we tend to learn more about the TLC core values.
Sorry,
Just wow.
May I share some news about the trusted friend that they lost? So Donald Trump, when he decided to take away aid and introduce tariffs, he based the tariffs on each country on their trade deficit. And so the business community in Eswatini, I see 2 board members with me here, we went to the American embassy and said, Eswatini has a trade surplus. So while you've given us 10%, which is the lowest in the region, Trump gave Eswatini the lowest 10%. The 10% alone is not good enough because we don't have a deficit. Coca-Cola is based in Eswatini. And we said in exchange for that, we want USAID back.
Wow, thank you. Mam Tizi, do you want to go? Okay.
Yes, just a little bit. I mean, I was also almost crying watching the TLC presentation. But I'm so glad that I'm here and I heard it, because now I know why there is all this noise around TLC. Because we cannot celebrate excellence. We don't celebrate excellence. So it's up to us women to show that we can. I just wanted to share about institutional culture. When Andile spoke about emotional intelligence, you know, the leader paves the way. We in education, we always say, you can tell what kind of school it is when you meet the principal or when you walk into the school. If there is order, you know what kind of leadership there is. So in organizations where there is transparency and trust, where the leaders are trusted, what you see is what you get. There are no hidden agendas. I used to work for UNICEF, and for the longest time, each country I moved to, I worked in more than 5 countries. And I would just think to myself, why are these people so committed? And everyone, I mean, from the representative to the driver, they all want to do the best. We never used to go home at 5. You go home when the job is done. But why? Because it's in your heart. You know you're doing something useful. You feel it in your heart that it's not about me. The agenda is bigger than me. And I just contribute my little bit. So I think, I love women leaders because we bring in that soft side that allows people to thrive. If you are leading in the feminine way, because you don't want to lead like those guys, yeah? You want to be real, authentic, and a trusted leader.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mam Tizi, there's just one lady who won't let me go. Okay, I'll give you just a second.
Yep,
you can go.
Hi, my name is Dema Dlamini. I don't know if I should stand up. Can you? Firstly, thank you so much for the presentations. They're really impactful. And with Miss Echo, I think I'm going to cry if I try to speak because I'm a biomedical engineering student and I'm very passionate about the health sector. I think I was shaking the whole time during my seat because I see what you see and I've been seeing a gap as well. I have a question for Miss Meliswa. You mentioned that when you were starting, you did some research and then you saw that people were actually facing the same problem that you were facing. So what is research? Like I sit on my computer and just Google and find stats? Do I go to my neighbor and say, hey, do you have this problem? What does doing research look like? And you mentioned choosing a board. How do you choose the board? Is it based on their skill set or their character or the vision that they also carry for what you're trying to do? Yeah.
Okay. And also, who pays the board? I would drop that one in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the questions. I'm now thinking about the second one. But just, okay, so with the first question, just very briefly. The research, yes. So yes, with the research, I'm a child of academics, eh? Research is getting knowledge. And the way that you would do it in university is the way you would do it in real life as well. However, there's different ways of doing research. There's sources for your research that are